folks out there in the lands of lands. Welcome to the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. We are live Wednesday night, September 10th, 2025, to discuss the newest episode of Alien Earth. So this happens to be episode 6, and as we can see, She-Hulk once again carrying around Jeff. He just can't help himself. He absolutely loves She-Hulk, as he just had a nice, great, long discussion about She-Hulk.
I'll never forget that night with She-Hulk. I'll never forget.
He'll never forget it, folks. Anyways, once again, we're here to talk about Alien Earth Episode 6, which happens to be called The Fly, which is kind of funny. I don't know if that's in reference to actual flying or if it means an actual fly, like the inside.
No, the movie. The director said it's The Fly, the movie.
Oh, okay, so it's in reference to The Fly, the movie, which I don't see where they got that from, but okay. Anyways, going from an alien to a human turning into a giant fly, I don't see the connection.
Apparently, in some way, he said that film in its own way somehow inspired him creatively or whatever when it came to this show.
Gotcha. Anywho, I still think the title is funny. So this episode, like I said, just got dropped this past weekend. Yesterday. What am I talking about? Past weekend. This yesterday, number 6, and of course written by Noah Hawley and Lisa Long, directed by the director who, as Jeff just explained, had inspiration for The Fly, Ugla Hoxdortier. I don't know where they're from. Apparently they are Scandinavian of some sort or something like that. They definitely have a very interesting name. So Ugla, I think doesn't seem like too bad of a director. So as we get into the episode, it'll be interesting to see what everyone has to say about their directing style. All right, so we have, of course, on the panel tonight, Mr. Jeff S. TrueKnowledge. How we doing, Jeff?
I'm really good, sir. Alien Earth is one of the funnest shows to talk about that we've had this year, and it's always great to have really great shows that are really fun to watch and also fun to talk about. And so it's good to be around good friend creators, and talk about really fucking awesome stuff like Alien Earth. Oh, and I love the fucking the outro music at the end of the episodes. It's fucking awesome.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. We also have on the panel one of our returning guests, a longtime collaborator, a man that has not been here in a long time either, and a adventurer of all things, Mr. Kyle. How we doing, Kyle?
We are doing well. I've been loving Alien Earth, or as I'm going to affectionately call it after this episode, How to Train Your Xenomorph.
There you go. There you go. Yes, most certainly. Good to have you, Kyle. Of course, also returning with us, our frequent collaborator and sometimes moderator, Mr. Andreas, the pop culture guy, the time cop, the toxic avenger, the time lord, everything in between. How we doing, Andreas?
Very good. Very excited to talk about Alien Earth. Yeah, that's all I have to say. And thank you for those many titles that I could put in my resume.
You're welcome. And then, of course, we have on the podcast for the first time from between the two back caves, we have Jordan and Austin. Welcome, fellas. How we doing?
We are doing great. We appreciate you guys for having us on. I think, like everybody else here, we are having a really great time with this show and looking forward to talking to you guys about it.
Yeah, we're used to talking to each other about this every week, so glad to get some outside perspective for once.
Yes, sometimes that can get a little, you definitely know what they're going to say before they even say it type of deal. Anyways, so great to have you guys. Glad to have you on for the first time. Looking forward to hearing your guys' take on Alien Earth. So, since it's your guys' first time on here, I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on the episodes up to episode 6. Kind of your overall thoughts leading up to episode 6, and I'll start with you, Mr. Jordan.
Yeah, so first of all, going into this show, I did not have too much of an investment in the Alien franchise. I've seen the original Alien movie And I remember seeing Prometheus when that came out in theaters, but wasn't something that I was super invested in. This looked good. I love Noah Hawley. Fargo and Legion are some of my favorite shows.
You're so lucky, dude, that you saw Prometheus in the theater. Good for you, man.
Yeah, that was the first Michael Fassbender one, right? I remember seeing that one in theaters.
Yeah.
But so yeah, going into the show, I was like, all right, we got Noah Hawley, Timothy Olyphant. Like, I don't know what else is going to be going on here, but I'm going to be along for the ride. And I'm like really pleasantly surprised by this show. It's tackling like some of like the biggest existential questions that we have as a society within the framework of like a crazy alien horror story. And they're doing some really creative things as far as storytelling goes, like the bottle, not the bottle episode, but the flashback episode to what happened on the Maginot was just a mini alien movie, and that was super fun. So I'm having a great time with it. Like going into this previous episode, like I knew we were kind of going to get back into the story of what was going on in Neverland and setting up this final stretch of episodes. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see where it goes from here.
Thank you, sir. I love these private chat comments. So thank you for that. Good job. Going over to you, Austin. Your thoughts leading up to this current episode.
Sure. Yeah. Jordan and I think very similarly. So he said a lot of things that I won't reiterate, but I will just say that I think this show is acting as a great entry point for people to get back into the franchise that have been associated and fans of the Alien franchise and property for a long time, and also a way for newer fans to get really involved. Just candidly, Jordan and I both are newer fans. I think we're on the younger side. We were both born in the 90s, so you know the Alien franchise kind of hit its zeitgeist before us, so we had to retroactively fall in love with the franchise and the movies. So this is a really cool way to get deep into the lore for us. And I think it's doing a really good job of explaining that to newer fans while also giving wanted and needed lore for older fans. I think the production value on this show is through the roof. I think they are nailing the vibe of this show, and each and every episode is exceeding my expectations. I am blown away by the end of each episode. As Jordan said, you know, putting a mini Alien movie in the middle of your season is crazy, and it worked so well. And then just to jump right back into this episode that we're going to be covering today to pick back up where the story left off, it's exceeding all my expectations.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Going over to you, Kyle, since you have not been with us since we started the Great Alien Earth, what are your thoughts, sir, up to this point of the Alien Earth series?
So Alien Earth has been one of the shows I have been most excited for since it was announced. And you add in Noah Hawley, who is one of the most outside of the box creators we've got going right now. If you haven't seen Legion, you are missing out, but that show is also crazy. He has nailed the world of Alien in such an interesting way, because especially you go back to the original film and even Aliens, there is this really creepy factor about the companies and you know, whether it's Weyland Yutani or these new companies they brought in, and the fact we're learning so much about that and how that affects the Alien franchise, which is something, it was always kind of an underlying thing within all the Alien movies before then, but he has just brought it to a new level, and I absolutely love that. And also too, just he's hitting so many different points, and he's got you thinking every episode, but he's still managing to get the action, keep the intensity up on these episodes. These episodes are so intense, and for a television show, you got Jordan and Austin both hit it. The production value is through the roof here. I mean, even though the Xenomorph might not look quite as good on TV as it does on the big screen, with the budget they've got and the things they've done with it, it's absolutely amazing. Those first two episodes after dealing with the crash were just mind-blowing. It was not what I was fully expecting, but it was so good. And the cast itself is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you always have me at Timothy Olyphant anyway, but the rest of this cast has been phenomenal. The only thing I would say about this is you could use this show as a training video of how not to conduct security in your business, because yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, completely agree. All right, going over to my fellow MC Bleeding Edge people. Starting with you, Andreas. What are your thoughts up to this episode now, sir? Since the last time we talked last week, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, so far I've been enjoying the show. I agree with our guest here. I've been a big fan of Noah Hawley's work, mainly for me, it was Legion from 2017 starring Dan Stevenson. And plus I've seen the couple seasons of Fargo. So, so far this show has been delivering on what I want for the Alien Earth. Well, Alien, IP product, whatever you want to call it. A very driven horror sci-fi, content, and they totally delivered that. I really love the really just it's a love letter to the '79 classic film, but also for really Scott as a filmmaker, because you got a lot of Blade Runner stuff here, which I was like, whoa, it is like that, this running gag with us. It's like, oh my god, it's hard to keep up because now we have the synths, now cyborgs, and then so many robots we had to think of, and then hybrids of humans in synths. It's crazy. I never expected for an Alien project to deal with that, and they did it. I was surprised they're doing on that, and so I'm very excited for that. And I thought that this episode overall did a really good job of just getting us back to the main timeline. Now we got the answers from the crash. That was good. It was a great mini movie, as we were saying last week, with episode 5. And for this episode, I like that we're moving the plot along, in a good way. And I'm very excited and plus seeing the various aliens doing their thing. I mean, literally we got 2 flies that were in active in the plot, literally these alien flies. That's why it's Tayo the Fly, and plus it's a homage to the Fly, from the '86 or the David Cronenberg movie, or or the original from '58 starring Vincent Price. I totally love how just deep sci-fi this show is, which is really great. It's that's the reason we love Endor, because it was it was a good Star Wars show, but it was a deep sci-fi show as well. So I really appreciate that this show is so deep sci-fi. I love the new concept of aliens and some of the ideas in this Alien franchise that I love since I got into it with the first 2 films, with the '79 and of course the 1986 film of Aliens. So yeah, I think this episode was really good. It got us back, and I really appreciate that. So I'm very, very excited to talk with you guys about this episode, and that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, sir. Going over to you, Jeff. Your thoughts, sir. Any new thoughts or anything like that leading up to this episode?
Yeah, I will say that, and again, this is just my opinion. So, I mean, I'm sure, if anybody else on the panel has a differing one, I'm more than happy to hear it. I could be wrong, but I do feel like this is our first real filler episode, fillerish, if you want to call it episode, still an entertaining episode 6. Look, every TV show eventually has something that's akin to a filler episode pop up here and there. And it has to happen at some point. And after an episode that so epic as episode 5 was, it's kind of not shocking that the following episode coming off something like that would be sort of a automatic fallback, in quality. You know what I'm saying, or thrill, or or entertainment value, or whatever. You know what I mean? You're not gonna be able to match the output of what you got out of that experience from watching episode 5 again, right? And there's loose ends that needed to be attended in the show, in the story, you know what I'm saying? That do need to be worked out and flushed out, just like with any TV show, with their story. There's, always going to be loose ends, with certain characters, certain side storylines and things like that have to be meshed out. I feel like episode 6 was one of those episodes where they really took the time and embraced, some of that, sort of, loose end, type of, areas, what I'm saying, of the show, kind of just tighten things up a little bit.
I think it's not so much a filler episode. I think it's a setup episode because I think you're setting up what is going to be happening in these final episodes.
That's why I said maybe filler-ish is what I meant by saying that, Kyle. Filler-ish to me was like saying like kind of a filler episode. You know what I mean? Still a good episode. You know what I'm saying? But but being like a setup episode or an establishment episode, if that makes sense. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
I think you could argue about like the verbiage of filler versus setup, but I like what you said, Kyle. It's a table setting episode, and they're resetting the table for how the show's going to end and giving us the final issues that need to be wrapped up. And it's interesting the placement within the season because of where we got episode 5 and what it is. So it's weird to have a table setting episode, pretty much before the climax of the season, but that is what it is acting as.
Well, I guess my only rebuff from that, Austin, would be like my statement that I made a minute ago. At the end of the day, when you watch one of these TV shows, you do end up usually typically having at least one sort of filler kind of episode in the show. That does occur, Nobody's perfect. You know what I'm saying? Even Andor season 2, there was an episode or two there where you could have maybe said, hey, that was kind of a filler episode, Episodes 1 and 2, for example, were pretty rough.
Here's the interesting thing, though, because if you saw the titles for all these episodes, as soon as you saw the title for episode 5, you knew that was going to be. And what's interesting, and I actually challenge viewers out there and you guys to do this. When you rewatch the show, watch episode 5 first, and then watch the rest of the episodes.
Or like start like with the very first scene of episode 1 where the crew of the Maginot is talking in the bridge, and then pause there, jump to 5, watch that,
exactly.
Back to the rest of 1.
That's a lot of work though, Kyle. You know what I'm saying? Great suggestion. I've heard that from other people, you know what I'm saying? But like that's a lot of energy.
We're already making the Alien Earth rewatch order.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's all I have to say, Cyber. Is just that like again, this is my opinion. I agree that this is a step up episode that's establishing in the story. It's establishing the further growth and moving forward the story, and I agree with that 100%. I just also feel like when it comes to the sort of quality of the entertainment value that we've gotten out of the other episodes during the show so far, I feel like it seemed like less occurred in episode 6 that was eventful, really, or that evoked any sense of tension or real fear or a reason to be scared or anything like that. There wasn't as much of those moments, really. I felt like in the episode. I'll put it to you that way.
I think that's a pretty savvy TV move by Noah Hawley because he knows with episode 5, he's giving us the mini Alien movie. Like for people that love the original movie and the movies that have come past that, they're going to look to episode 5 and that's going to be a high point of the series for them. And episode 6, if you try to match that or exceed that in like 2 episodes before the finale, that's going to be really hard to do. That's a heavy lift. So I think it's smart to say, okay, let's take a breath. Let's refamiliarize ourselves.
Well, I said that. Yeah. I said that. Yeah, you're no one in any show. You're never going to be able to. It's like in Shogun. If you watch that after that episode 9 or whatever it was, where that main female character blew herself up at the end. That episode was so fucking great. There was no way.
Mariko. Yep.
Yeah, there was no way that the finale was going to be able to hold up to that episode, right? You knew that going into it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, there's definitely that sense with that, I think, with Alien Earth. And overall, though, very watchable. And as far as, like, the season goes or whatever, all my expectations for the show have been totally beaten 100%. Whatever I thought Alien Earth was going to be, this is not what I thought. This is not, like, the kind of quality or, like, high-level television that I expected to experience watching and talking about. So, I mean, as far as my expectations go, they were met very quickly, very early. And I'm just, I guess you could say sort of maybe, this far into it a little bit to point out like one kind of quasi issue I'm having, the hybrids, across the span of the whole season and then going into episode 6, their concept of the show, their part is a little bit shaky for me right now. I just want to point that out, in terms of the different side stories that make up and encompass Alien Earth, like they have their big part there, and I'm just a little shaky as far as where that's going right now, and those characters, you know what I'm saying? That'd be like one kind of dig I would have for Alien Earth so far for the season, is that where that's going for these in these next 2 episodes. Damn, doesn't it suck there's only 2 episodes left of Alien Earth? It really blows. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. They could totally turn it around and make it a strength by the end of the show, by the end of the season, without question. I wouldn't put it past Noah Hawley, but I will just say that I'm loving every other aspect of the season. Kyle mentioned episodes 2 and 3 are like are outstanding episodes, that I think are a little bit like, maybe underrated kind of. But now that we're this far into the show, you could say, state it, that like those were standout episodes, of like really, really good television. So it'll be interesting to see, how IMDb rates these episodes, you know what I'm saying? Where they come out with Alien Earth. I haven't really looked at any of that information at this point. I don't know how they're doing Rotten Tomatoes wise or any of that stuff. But Alien Earth is a really entertaining, very creative, very super interesting show, and I really enjoy watching it. And like I said, it's fun to bullshit about it. It's cool. Noah Hawley is a genius. Like if there was ever a reason to want to go back and watch his previous work, I think Alien Earth would be that reason.
Yeah, between this, Fargo, Legion, and other things he's done, he is one of the, I think, most creative people we have in fandom right now. And I think, and you see his name on anything, it's an immediate, you need to put your eyeballs on this because you don't know what you're going to get, but you know you're going to get something that's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, but it's unfortunately, from what I understand, from what I've seen, I've only seen bits and pieces of those 2 shows, but they were kind of buried a little bit, on FX, you know what I'm saying? And also just because of the kind of shows they are, you know what I mean? So I don't know if they got the attention really.
Well, FX is the perfect home for Noah Hawley because they let their creators create, and they do not let them hold them back, even though it is technically a cable channel, which I think it's going to eventually just be absorbed into the greater Disney Plus aspect of it eventually, and it's going to become like a premium streaming area for Disney. But yeah, FX is the perfect home for this, and that's what I love about FX. I've been a fan of almost all the projects they've done because they're not afraid to take chances and they let their creators be creators, and I think that's great. And Alien Earth has been another prime example of that, because you put this on any other channel outside of maybe HBO, and this thing is so bastardized it's not even funny.
FX is, I think there's they have a reputation of creating quality television shows. I think they've been known for years for that. That's not new information, I don't think, for most people. The stuff that they put out looks good. It's all well received. You know what I mean?
You're right, Kyle.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, Kyle. They let creators create, and Jordan and I were having this conversation recently about how Noah Hawley's the type of guy that likes to ask questions about the properties that he loves that don't have answers, and then create his own answers in the lore. And that lore then becomes a widely accepted addition to the already established lore. So I think that this is, a perfect sandbox for him to work within.
Oh, without question. And again, the great thing about Noah Hawley too is you look at the talent he's brought in with this cast, and I mean, and a lot of these actors have had past experience with FX shows, and that that's also, it's just like the HBO where you see actors returning because they know the environment they're working in and they know the creative talent they're working in. And that's why when they announced Alien Earth on FX, I was more excited about this project than I would have been almost on any other network.
Are you sure that he does his own casting on these shows, or does he have somebody do the casting?
Oh, he has a lot of input on the casting, and I know that there's at least 2 or 3 of the actors who specifically did this show just so they could work with Noah Hawley.
That doesn't surprise me. I'm just wondering in general if the show actually did have a casting, somebody that did the casting. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised if he has input. Most directors typically do. You know what I mean? But anyways, I'll wow, it sounded like a fucking like a train tunnel all of a sudden exploded. That's all I really had to say. I love the fact that during my turn to talk, I inspired all that really great all around the table conversation. So like, hats off to me for causing all that.
That's why we're here.
Yep.
Hot D.
Yes.
That's what I have to say about that. Anyways,
that was a lot like my night with She-Hulk. There were moments like that, all kinds of stuff like that happened.
We all know. Anyways, great job, everyone. Good job. Great conversation. So let's now get back to the actual episode we're going to be talking about, The Fly. All right, so the episode starts off. As the Xenomorph evolves, Wendy tries to communicate with it while Nibs undergoes testing, prompting Adam Eanes to demand her reset. Arthur refuses and is fired under threat of execution, while Dame reluctantly accepts. So basically, that's kind of the beginning portion of the episode. We'll stop there. There's quite a bit that goes on there. I mean, we have, we see, Wendy basically working with the Xenomorph, talking to it and all this kind of stuff. And basically she ends up talking to her brother saying, it's not like other Xenomorphs. I think this could be the first good Xenomorph. And I just started cracking up going, are you kidding? Oh my God. This thing is a killer. There's no way in hell that thing would ever be docile. But anyways, I digress. But then, we have, of course, the section there with Nibs undergoing the testing, the whole pregnancy thing and all that kind of stuff. And, basically that one suit guy, I like to call him, Adam Eanes, basically demands that she be reset for the presentation they have coming up in a couple weeks. And at first, Arthur is not into that, but his wife, Dame, is about it and actually says yes. So because he says no, he ends up getting fired and all that kind of stuff. And they have like the whole kind of like what the hell, this kind of thing and stuff like that. And it was just kind of like, dude, like Adam Eanes, man, that dude is sinister. Like there's something sinister about that motherfucker. So it's like when he's like, you're fired, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. How he would do it. Yeah. But anyways, what do you guys think about that port? And what did you think about it? What did you like? What did you hate? What did you get out of it? And all and around whatever you would like to talk about that section, living up to, basically Arthur being fired. So I'll start with you, Andres, the pop culture guy.
Okay. Yeah, I thought this opening was really good. First off, I just always bring this up in the review. It's always great that these open titles do the recaps, but in such a visual way. Yes. I was like, this show. That's one thing I love about this show. They're very clever, of like just giving us a very recap of like where we're at, and then just smoothly get us into this episode. I really appreciate that. I always miss that in shows sometimes. But I don't like when shows like spoil the episode with the recaps. I remember that with Justice League, the cartoon when I was growing up. But this one is very good. Like visually, you recognize the images, and I really like that. It was great to see this season. I'm very curious about like Wendy and how she's like communicating with the xenomorph. You know, like it's such a cool concept that like a synth can control like these creatures that we know for so many years, and this series has done a really good job of like expanding and like really changing my perspective of how these aliens kind of do their system. It was really cool, that reveal of like the synths cannot be affected by the face huggers, but the humans are, because that's they organisms. Where the synths are not like they're not organisms. They're just like mechanical creatures. So it makes sense that like even in this like what do you call it infernal stage of the xenomorphs, they sense like who's in the room and not. So I really like that, how they reveal that during the series, and seeing Wendy doing the voice, the noises is really interesting. But yeah, of course we have a couple these like human scientists. You're always gonna get the one that like is more about like the ethical, like let's like slowly get these kids properly set up for whatever presentation they have, where like the wife that's played by Asa Davis from Babadook, she is like very ambitious. You can tell that she loves that like they transferred a human into sim to like create immortal entirely for people now. They don't have to die. They can actually transfer their bodies into new bodies. And that's a really interesting concept. And you see she's trying her best to like make this project work. But she's doing a lot of things like the company, and even our main rival company, William Yutani, has done over the movies, of like going the very ethical of like skipping the A and B and just trying to like, look, let's go to this, like skipping all that and like just get this like up and running. We see that so many times with sci-fi films and all that. It's like they don't like it's like what Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park has been saying, like say to John Hammond, it's like you should,
because we can
you should
Yeah.
And you see that with these two scientists and these two couple, which it's interesting, and I think it adds a dilemma of like, what are you doing? These are kids, and especially this redhead, I forgot her name, but like that
Nibs.
Nim, thank you.
Nibs, yeah.
Nibs. Last episode 4, she was she was really traumatized by that eye creature that we like from the series, and then episode 4, like apparently she is having a kid. I was like, oh yeah, she's having a breakdown, and it was very interesting to see that they are like doing this kind of thing of very RoboCop thing of like try to reprogram it, erase this like trauma, and it's like, is that a really good idea? And I mean, it's a good idea, and I will say, later on, it was so stupid they didn't inform anyone if they were doing this. Like, I was like, what the hell, We'll get into that when Wendy talks to Nibs later on. So I and of course when the husband is like, I don't think we should do that, and then of course the person like he refused to do the operation of erasing the memory. Of course the assistant fires him and demands him to leave the facility or he'll be executed, which I was like, whoa, that's like really harsh. Come on, like let him leave. Don't force to like, oh, we're gonna execute you. I'm like, what the hell? I was like, what the
Yeah, he made that very clear.
Yeah, very clear. Wow, I was like, yeah. So we'll get later. I'm like, I hope that Meryl and I cannot believe I'm saying this as an alien friend. I hope that the Otani / Morrow kills these people, because I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? So so a very good execute opening that got me like hooked again with the main storyline. Because last week was basically a flashback, and so it was great to like pick up where we were left off from episode 4. So that's my thoughts on the opening.
Thank you, sir. Great job. All right, going over to you, Austin. Your thoughts, sir, on that beginning portion leading up to the firing of our favorite guy.
Sure thing. So definitely agree with what you said there, Andres. The opening for this series as a whole, each episode is really cool. It really just like gets you in the mood for the show, and it just amps you up. I mean, we've already mentioned how the show is just like prestige TV in a way that we weren't expecting, and you get that opening, the music starts to swell, and you get some flashbacks and some images, and you're like, oh, let's go. It's time to watch Alien Earth. This introduction sequence that was described, I really like what they're doing to differentiate Wendy as a character in this show. I'm gonna shout out Kyle for coming up with the name How to Train Your Xenomorph. I'm really upset I didn't think of that myself because I've been referring to Wendy as Wendy, the mother of the Xenomorphs.
Yeah.
Little Game of Thrones reference there. So well done, sir. Well done.
Thank you.
But Wendy is the way that she's developing her affection for the Xenomorph and developing her, like, she goes into the little bit here where she's talking about like how she's trying to perfect the dialect within the Xenomorph language, which is extremely interesting to me. And she's going beyond trying to understand this creature. She is really starting to empathize with the creature on a level where she is starting to see herself as more closely related to the Xenomorph than the humans around her. You know, she has this part where she's basically saying how the Xenomorphs and the other specimens did not ask to be here, and that's very clearly iterative of the Lost Boys themselves. You know, they did not ask to be here. Their parents volunteered them, and they are now, you know, in a new place, scared, trying to learn how to navigate. And I think that she finds a real kinship with the Xenomorph, which is wild to say. But also just curious real quick. So we've gotten a couple different variations of Xenomorph that we haven't seen before in the show. We've gotten the Xeno Tadpole, we've gotten the Xeno Snake, and we're now getting this version of the Xenomorph. I was trying to think of what it could relate to. I assume everybody here's been to a zoo.
Yeah, I call it Tenomorph. It's like
I was gonna say Xenoteen.
That's it.
Tenomorph is
I came up with Xenochimp, but I was like, that's not quite what I'm looking for. Okay, Kyle, I like what you're doing up there. I really
like
do.
Xenomorph.
It reminds me a little bit of Alien 3, where they were trying to make the alien look more like a dog, and that reminded me of that a little bit with its way of moving. But monkey makes more sense.
But just to wrap up my thoughts here, where, you know, you get to the scene where, you know, Adam is fired, and this Arthur character, as you were saying, Andres, he's so sinister, and it's interesting because he's acting as basically the fist of Boy Cavalier, and he is acting on behalf of Boy Cavalier to basically, you know, do his dirty work. And it's unfortunate that I'm sure we will get into this later in the episode, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but the firing of Adam, I think, was a major disservice to his character just because of what it relegated him to being and serving as a character in this season of television. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the opening scene there. Like I said, it just amps me up, gets me ready to watch the show.
Excellent, thank you. All right, going over to you, Jeff. Your thoughts are on that beginning portion.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, shout out to Austin and Jordan's buddy Arjun in the comment section.
Yes, sir.
We don't know that guy. I don't know what you're talking
about. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, I think it's interesting. You know, listening to Austin talk about, you know, prestige TV, and, you know, yeah, the openings are fucking great. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll third that. You know, that notion. You know, they start off the show with the tempo great every episode. You know what I mean? Like, Noah Hawley is killing it on the openings and the endings of these episodes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, you know, if you don't like, you know, like 90s or 2000s like alternative metal rock, rock music or whatever, that's fine. I get that if that's not your shit or whatever. You know what I mean? But like, other than that, that's the only reason why you would have a problem with the ending music that they're using on at the end of these episodes. So far, I think it's been great. Like, they've really done a great job matching up the songs that connect really well to the show, and to the scenes. Those openings with the way that they slide in, the title, you know what I mean? And then they, revisit, the previous episode and go into this episode and all that kind of shit. It's great. It's very entertaining and very creative. I think that all the really super creative, like really super, kind of IQ type, moves that have been added, those touches that have been added to the show are parts of why it's so great, overall. You know what I mean? All these different elements put together, you know what I'm saying? They just make up for just a really great, entertaining, experience. I'm not sure how long this episode was. If I had to guess, I'd say it was like 45 minutes, maybe. But
I think it was a little closer to an hour.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I want to say it was
Yeah, it went
about
above the 50 mark.
56, 57 minutes. I think is what the
Yeah,
final
yeah.
runtime on it was.
It was
Okay.
shorter than last week. So
Well,
Okay.
last week ran like an hour 25. It was
Okay, yeah. So when you take the credits away, that's like 48 or 49 minutes. So yeah. So like, all right, give or take. I didn't realize it was that long. That's actually
Which is a
kind of
good sign.
surprising.
Yeah.
But no, it is surprising. It
Yeah.
is a good sign. Everybody, who checks us out here, the Bleeding Edge and Andres and Cyber. No, I love long episodes of TV. I think they're always the best episodes. But I think that besides the openings, I'm very interested in how they're going to handle like the manage, I guess you could say, all these different characters, right? Like Wendy or whatever the fuck her name is, that can talk to the xenomorphs and all this shit, and right, like has this relationship with them and all that, knows all this information about them. And then all these other characters now too that know all about the Xeno too, already. You know what I'm saying? Like, Joe knows about them. Everybody knows about the Xenos. You know what I'm saying? Like, they know all this information, right? They know the whole life cycles and all this shit at this point. Like, but yet this show is a prequel to Alien. You know what I'm saying? So it's somehow between like now and then, like something has to happen or whatever or occur that causes all of these different characters to somehow not give out all this information. You know what I'm saying? Or somehow this information is stifled away or something in the future to where Weyland-Yutani does not have it in the future. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have access to files of all this information. They don't have it. Or they would have had it in Alien. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that simple as far as I'm concerned. If I'm wrong, anybody pointed out that I'm wrong. But they're going to have to do something over the course of however many seasons this is going to play out on Alien Earth, right? They're going to have to do something to sort of make it all tie off and work out, you know what I'm saying, to where it ends up, putting us right to where, back to, the same space as Alien. You know what I mean? In terms of what the overall general knowledge is on a corporate level, about Xenos or the general level, which again, according to Alien, Aliens, there's not a lot of information, So I just want to point that out. I'm not like a massive, Aliens franchise guy, but of course I've watched all the films and, I'm a big fan of them for the most part, except for 3. I don't ever want to watch 3 ever again. Not 3, I'm sorry, 4. 3 I would watch again. 4 I'd never want to watch again because it's so bad. And honestly, it was embarrassing for Sigourney, to tell you the truth. It really was. I felt like it was kind of a slap in the face to her that they put her in that movie. Because I have a lot of respect for her, and for, what she did for Alien and the Aliens. You know what I'm saying? She made those movies, So yeah, I mean, besides that, I guess I could just say that I'm not sure what to make of this ability that Megan, or why do I have a hard time with her name every time? I have no idea why. That one hybrid, I always struggle with her name. But her ability to communicate with the Xenos, or trying to communicate, I don't know what to make of that. Like, it's very strange. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't know, like, and as far as like Cyber was saying, her talking about like this one might be good or whatever, that's fucking stupid, bro. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and how could of all people, a hybrid, like a super intelligent hybrid, doesn't grasp that the Xenos just kill shit?
We have to remember that she has the mind and the
she's a child.
That is
she's
true.
a child.
That is true.
That's where that all comes from.
That's true. That's a
Blissful
good
ignorance.
point, Jordan. That's a really solid point.
What I think you're making a lot of really good points too. Like, why does she have this ability? I think it might have been episode 3 when she had the battle with the Xenomorph before coming back to Neverland. Something happened behind that door.
Yeah, we haven't seen all
exactly. We're going back there.
Honestly, I haven't really been that concerned with the why. To be honest with you,
no, I'm not concerned with it, but
I'm okay with that part. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with that part. I can conceive it in this world of Alien Earth that like it's possible that like one of these hybrids could develop this sort of ability or trait. You know what I mean? Like, why not? You know what I mean?
I'm looking forward to seeing.
Oh yeah,
a little bit more of that, because I think we will be going behind that door next episode, probably, maybe the finale. I don't know.
But Noah Hawley creates an environment with the show where like something like that doesn't seem like like super like out of the way, or like not like doesn't make sense. That could be happening. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like with this show, it feels okay that they have that going on, right? It's a big jump for Alien, to have that going on in the show. You know what I mean? For the franchise, I think. Looking at the big picture, right? That they added a touch like that, I'd be interested in knowing how much input. What's his name that started Alien? That's executive producing or whatever on the show. What's his name? The director.
Ridley Scott.
I'd like to know how much influence and how much impact he really actually had as a producer on the show. That'd be interesting. I'd love to know that information. But besides that, I guess I would just say that during that section that you're talking about, Cyber, I think we see Joe, don't we? For the first time. I don't really understand Joe's character, like what he's supposed to like be there for at this point, kind of at times, he's just there, you know what I mean? And I'm like, and I'm trying to see like how he fits really at this point, like in the story, kind of, you know what I mean? He almost seems kind of useless to me at times, you know what I'm saying? Like realistically, but I guess we'll see how it plays out overall, I mean, when I see his scenes, I'm just kind of like, okay, all right, there's Joe again, kind of like, not much happening with it. You know what I'm saying? He's probably like the most boring, uninteresting character on the show, to be honest with you, I don't know, like, I mean, this notion that he has that he's somehow going to be able to get his sister out of there and take her away from fucking Kid Cavalier or whatever, like past security and all that shit. That shit is fucking delusional, bro. How he can even have that notion, I don't even grasp that. I got to be honest with you. I don't even get that at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's his name fucking told him when they talked about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm going too far in cyber with this, but when, Hester or whatever told him, like, how do you think this is even going to be possible or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get that shit. Like, that's just stupid to me. I'm kind of shocked that like nobody's made it clear to him already there at the island that like something like that is not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? That kind of surprises me.
No, his friends did tell him that, but just
he's been told that several times.
Yeah,
that's part of the thing with that character is he's just not listening. He's being naive and
why the fuck are they even keeping him around then? They don't need Joe.
They're keeping him around to appease Wendy.
Yeah,
that was that whole conversation between Boy and Wendy a couple of weeks ago where I think he told Wendy, he was like, I'll let you keep it, referring to Joe.
Yeah,
if you continue to
yeah.
talk to the xenomorph. So it's just boys like
he's a
all right,
pet.
whatever.
I know they're very aware of her infatuation with Joe. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, obviously, you know what I mean? So that plays a big part of it too. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, my point is he's going to become more of a expendable kind of character at some point here in the story down the road. You know what I'm saying? Because really, I mean, the way that they're treating the hybrids at this point, their value seems to be being diminished a little bit, episode by episode, a little bit, in my eyes at least, with Kid Cavalier. Now that he's got his new creatures and his flashy new shit, that seems to be his main priority, not the hybrids. Although I will agree, of course, that Wendy or whatever is very valuable, especially with her ability to talk to the Xeno. So yeah, that's it, Cyber.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, going over to you, Mr. Kyle. Your thoughts, sir, on that beginning section up to the firing of Arthur.
The great thing about this show is that even the more minor characters have something interesting with them. And the other thing with this is, as I've watched it, I've come to realize there's 3 types of characters that are on this show. There's the naive, there's the corrupted or corruptible, and then there's just the flat out scary. I say the flat out scary because Nibs is flat out scary. She when she's coming up talking about being pregnant, she's bringing up the Jesus references.
Good call, Kyle. Nibs is scary.
Or the fact that I'm basically pregnant from midichlorians. But then they start messing with her memories, and that's gonna go somewhere way bad. And when you have that, I love the fact that it's the married couple that has this big debate about what's right and what's wrong, and you have Adam who is sticking to his beliefs that these are children, what's being done to them is horrific now at this point, to the point where he still stands up for his morals, while his own wife, I think out of fear and yet out of being slowly corrupted by the company, and is giving up her morals on these kids to do, because I think it's a little bit of out of fear of the company and just quite giving up, nobody checking and balancing her, and her not listening to her husband. You add in the aspect of, as soon as he got fired, I think the writing was on the wall of what was going to happen. And I because he is the perfect character for what we'll talk about later, I think it fit perfectly. I think the very interesting thing that's going on with Wendy in this aspect is Wendy is probably the most dangerous creature on that island, because Wendy has the supercomputer. The other ones don't have the supercomputer like she does. She is being influenced by Kirsch. She's being influenced by her connection with the xenomorphs. She's still got her brother influencing her, but she got in that opening conversation with her brother, it was pretty scary about how she is seeing everything like on an equal level. And there's rights and interesting things about that, but there's some really scary things about that because she doesn't understand yet the nature of the things she's dealing with. Now, if they are setting this up the way I think they're setting this up, I'm hoping in these last couple episodes, when this island eventually gets invaded by Weyland-Yutani, that we see a scene with Wendy and her pet xenomorph, and she basically says "sick 'em," because I think that would be a lot of fun, even though I think it's going to turn around badly. But I think what the more interesting thing that I pulled out of this opening aspect is that I'm really curious to see how it's going to play out as the rest of the series goes on. I really feel like the Wendy character could be something that gets added into Alien canon, and we could see this character reappear later on in another film project or something, depending on how the direction they go with it. And that's what's so interesting with what they're doing with Alien Earth being a prequel series. We know that it's leading into Alien. Jeff, you mentioned it earlier. They don't have the files. Oh, yes, Weyland-Yutani has those files. they just aren't telling anybody what the real story is. Just
Yeah,
like they did with
no, Kyle, come on, that makes no sense at all. Because honestly, if they would have had the files and all that kind of shit, you know, and I know that during the movie they would have had that information on hand. When they went to that planet, they would have known. They would have known what those were, those eggs and everything, and all that shit.
No, because the information is classified. You better be pretty higher up in the corporate ladder to know what the hell is going on. And it's very obvious they don't give a rat's ass about the crew.
But they would have told Ash at least. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't think so. I truly don't. I think whatever is going to happen in these next 2 episodes will influence that. But they have the data that they recorded from the ship anyway, so that data exists. It's there. Morrow uploaded it to them, so they've got that. But the different angles that they are setting up just in the beginning of this episode are just so intriguing, because right now there's nothing on that island that doesn't scare me, whether it's Wendy, the creatures on there, the humans, Kid Cavalier, Kirsch. That island is a holy nightmare right now, and when it explodes, it's going to be crazy.
I would beat Kid Cavalier's ass if I could in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as like in real life, when I've met people like that in my life that are that much of an asshole and wanted to fight them or whatever, or have fought them, like, I would beat Kid Cavalier's ass.
I'm not getting near those feet. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't want anywhere near that.
If he did that to me in that situation or whatever, and I was fucking Utani or whatever, I would beat his ass.
Okay, thank you guys. Wonderful. All right. So last but not least, Mr. Jordan, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I think everybody else here on the panel did a really good job touching on a lot of the things that I kind of pulled out of that opening sequence. So I don't want to rehash that too much. There are a few things, though, that stuck out to me. First, just kind of almost as an aside, I thought it was interesting that the episode opens up with the xenomorph already in containment, because I'm pretty sure when we leave off at the end of episode 4, it's just basically Wendy and the xenomorph kind of face to face, right? Kyle,
Jordan, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when you saw how big it got, did you have the remembrance of Game of Thrones when they mentioned how big how the direwolves got?
Oh yeah, I was like,
so quickly.
Oh, he's got legs now. But so I thought it was interesting that Wendy presumably agreed to allow Prodigy to, cage the xenomorph. I thought that there might be something in between their face-to-face meeting at the end of 4 and the xenomorph in the cage at the beginning of 6. So I thought that was interesting. And I don't know if that's a thread that will be picked up on at all, but it was just, when we're thinking about Wendy's connection with the xenomorph, I thought it was interesting that she was okay with it being in captivity. But also at the same time, realistically, she doesn't have a choice there. I also agree that Hermit is being naive as fuck. I think at one point he's talking to Kirsch about he wants to take care of Wendy and, eventually maybe I'll be able to take her home. There was a line that Kirsch had that stuck out to me. I think he said, like, that's like an alien asking how to take care of a star. Or no, not an alien, an onion.
An onion.
That's how that's like an onion trying to take care of the star. And that's just like the Hermit character is a very interesting one to me at this point, because obviously he's there to kind of represent that humanity within Wendy/Marcy, which is what she wants to go by now, kind of hinting at her rebellion against Prodigy. But yeah, I'm waiting for Hermit to kind of have that realization that she's not going anywhere. He's realistically not going anywhere. Well, I'm sure we'll get into this later on in the episode as we kind of go chronologically, but they're very clearly setting Hermit up to try to make a break for this boat. Whether or not Wendy is going to be with him or not, I don't know. But that's interesting to me. Moving into the Nibs testing scene with Doctors Sylvia, the couple things that stood out to me there. At one point, there's almost a throwaway line where they're talking about trauma that Nibs had in her past. I don't know if that's something we're going to go back to. I assume all these kids had trauma because they all had terminal illnesses, and ended up in this situation. But they talked about it.
Brother, I think they made it really clear with her that she experienced something like very specific. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, something different from the other Lost Boys. So I think that will be coming to rear its head in these last couple episodes, what that is. And I mean, that scene is just kind of getting at like the heart of one of the biggest questions that this show is asking. Like, what does it mean to be human? What is a human? When does a human become not a human? And it was reminding me of like the whole, the question, the idea of the ship of Theseus, where it's like, okay, you've rewritten her code X number of times. At what point does the kid who became Nibs are they not that kid anymore? Are they not even a human anymore? And they're just, I mean, obviously.
What did Moreau say to Kitch or whatever, to whatever his name is, on the ship? What did he make? What did he try to make it repeat? No, when he had his
when he's talking to Slightly.
Yeah, when he had his knife to him and everything. What did he try to get him to say?
When is a
machine
robot not a robot?
Yeah.
When is a robot not a robot?
So that's just
I mean, not a machine, I believe it is.
Yeah. I mean, so these kind of conversations about like, when do you lose your humanity and what does that mean? And the conversation between the Sylvias about that's just like really interesting kind of text and questions to mine in this show. The Sylvia's relationship, watching that opening scene, and we're going to get there, but I was like, oh, this husband's going to die. Like he's not making it out of this show. I also thought the kind of development with Dame Sylvia agreeing to, wipe Nibs's memory. She, up until this point, at least how I was perceiving it, she was really presenting like a very kind of like maternal.
Yeah, she wants to save. She wants to save her.
The Lost Boys. Yeah, I think Kyle, I think you were kind of talking about like, I think fear is a big motivating factor for her in agreeing to wipe the memory, but I also think she actually is like genuinely interested in like pushing the scientific discovery side of things with the hybrids. And so I think
you have a point there, but I also think because how she would describe what they were doing to her as medicine and trying to heal her to Wendy.
My question is, does she believe that or not?
I think it's a conflict within her right now.
Yeah. I think that's a really good pull, because I'm watching that scene. My question is, does she believe what she's saying to Wendy in that moment, or is she just trying to tell her what she wants to hear? Probably a little bit of both.
I think she wants to believe what she's saying in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, she's trying to rationalize what she just did, because I do think that part of her genuinely cares about these kids, and so she has to find a way to rationalize what she's doing. Yeah, so I mean, I think in this opening sequence and this episode in general, I just think it does such a great job of reestablishing where each individual character is, like what's motivating them, where are they trying to get, and how is that all going to play into this inevitable downfall of Neverland? Because like the writing is on the wall. We've been talking about it a little bit, like how does the end of Alien Earth lead into Alien? And how does that all make sense? And I think it seems like pretty clear that they're setting up that Neverland as it stands right now is not going to be standing 2 years from now.
Mm-mm. And the thing is we haven't even addressed the most evil and most intelligent thing that's on Neverland yet.
That's right.
Oh, we got to get there. I got some thoughts.
I would definitely agree with him with the brother on that one, man. With what's going on right now on the show, at some point that motherfucker's going to get nuked.
It's the only way to be sure.
Exactly. And even then.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent, guys. Thank you. All right. So, moving on. All right. So, Cavallari negotiates with Yutani over alien cargo ownership, securing billions in damages but delaying its return due to quarantine. Meanwhile, Toodles is killed by acid-spitting flies after a mishap in the lab. And Wendy, disturbed by Nib's behaviors, learns she was reprogrammed. So we'll stop there. I feel that's a lot of great portion of the episode. Boy Cavalieri is absolutely hilarious. I think that guy is really good at playing his character. That whole negotiation sequence was like my favorite part of this episode. I think it was absolutely hilarious how he just like kind of owned Yutani over it, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. But then when you have like the whole quarantine thing, oh, I can't return it because we have the laws of quarantine, was cracking me up. I was like, wow, that's some good thought process there. But then you kind of have in between there, you have what's his face, Morrow, is talking into what's his name's ear and telling him he needs to get a host for the xenomorph egg and get it to him and stuff like that. And we have that little scene there in between, and then that leads up to when we see Toodles.
You're talking about the little Indian kid, the little Indian hybrid.
Yeah,
slightly.
And then slightly. That's when we go see Toodles, and he's in the thing, and he has the mishap where he gets locked into the cage with those bug things that basically spit out acid and basically destroy his synth body. Of course, we have the alien next door that's stuck in the sheep in its eye it hits the thing to cause him to get stuck in there. So we know that we're seeing that sheep still showing that it is very highly intellectual, that wonderful little alien creature that's an eyeball, which I just love how every time it shows it looking, it looks like a fly or an ant looking at something, which is always funny. But then also at this point too, we have the whole Wendy thing talking to Nibs and finding out how she's acting weird. And then she goes and confronts, of course, Dame. And, she kind of explains it to her. But anyways, so what are you guys' thoughts on that section there? And that whole craziness that happens and ensues there. This time I'll start with you, Jordan.
Yeah, so first, I agree that the arbitration scene between Boy Cavalier and Yutani I thought was electric. The way I think the transition, I don't remember what the immediately preceding scene was, but there was like a sharp transition, a cut, the music changes, and it's like it feels like almost like a completely different show. And I thought that scene was great. Boy Cavalier is like flexing his knowledge of the intercorporate laws. There were some really interesting references that maybe some people who are deeper in the alien lore would have caught and appreciated, but there was a reference to the Brubaker Accord, which I'm not sure if that's just a reference to comics creator Ed Brubaker or something else that's going on in the alien lore that I wasn't aware of, but I thought that was interesting. So yeah, just generally, I thought that arbitration scene was great. The rest of this portion of the episode, there was one overarching theme for me, and it goes back to something that was discussed in episode 5, which is smart people doing stupid things over and over again. So that starts, or maybe it doesn't start, but one example of that is, okay, we're going to wipe Nibs's memory. She's not going to have any memory of what happened in the city with the aliens, but we're just going to drop her right back in with the rest of the Lost Boys who have all their memories. And Wendy's sitting there when she wakes up to tell her everything that she just forgot about. So the corporate protocols on Neverland and within Prodigy, I think, need some intense review because they're not bringing their best. That was really interesting to me. I think they're setting something up with Nibs. She's going to have some kind of, I think, even more intense breakdown based off the wiping of her memory. And that's going to contribute to the downfall of Neverland, I think. And then jumping over to Toodles/Isaac, Kirsch wants him to go feed the specimens. And this was, I think, a really interesting showcase for Isaac's hubris and his ambition. He talked in previous episodes about how he really wanted to become a scientist, and he was having a great time doing all the experiments with Kirsch. He actively prevents Curly from coming and helping him, even though Kirsch wanted her to come help. And yeah, another smart, supercomputer hybrid doing stupid things, trying to feed all the specimens by himself. And we see how that went. Austin and I, on our pod and our reviews of the episodes, have begun referring to the eye alien as the octopus. And honestly, the octopus is one of my favorite characters on the show. I'm like really rooting for him. I want to see him get out of there. And I just, everything with that really is, it's a character. Like, it has desires and motivations and a personality. Everything with that character I find really entertaining. Getting the lamb to headbutt the wall to get Toodles to fall into the room, just another showcase of its intelligence and thought processing. And yeah, just like, I think it was you were talking about how the show manages to, ask all these very important, serious, thought-provoking questions while also still delivering like the thrills of an alien project. And we get that here with, the flies killing Isaac in a pretty gruesome way. So yeah, I really enjoyed this portion of the episode, even though I was sitting there like just kind of scratching my head at how they allowed Nibs to just kind of assimilate back into the Lost Boys group without her memories.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I agree there. Definitely interesting how they just had her just go right back to like nothing had happened. All right. Going over to you, Kyle. Your thoughts, sir, on that section.
So the arbitration scene is absolutely amazing and electric, and that goes so much to the actor who plays Kid Cavalier and his performance. But there's something to be said of the old saying, you might have the highest IQ in the room. It doesn't mean you're the smartest person in the room. And I think that very much applies to Kid Cavalier. This is one of those cases where you have such a genius, but there's no common sense because all he can see is the picture in his mind. And I think it's reflective of why things are happening at Neverland, why he's so obsessed, because he's a child himself, basically. He's a child prodigy. Nobody's taught him how to be an adult. And I think it's leading to some of the chaos. But also, one of the best scenes in this episode is right after the arbitration when you have Morrow and Kirsch in the elevator together.
Fuck yeah.
And their little exchange, which was so damn intense. And I cannot wait for that throwdown to happen in these last two episodes because it's coming. And it's going to be very interesting, and just two amazing actors just going at it. I'm always down for that. The other thing too, when you talk about Nibs, is you guys keep saying, "Oh, well, she was just brought back into with the rest of the Lost Boys." She actually wasn't. And my question is was it intentional? I don't think there was any way they wanted Wendy there when she woke up. I think Wendy was there because she chose to be there, and be damned of anybody else. And because she's always been there when they reawakened. So I think Wendy finding out about that, telling Nibs about everything that had happened, it affects not only Nibs, but it affects Wendy too, because now she's like really not trusting anybody at Prodigy. Like what the hell? And I think that's a big thing to watch going forward as we continue with things. And then when we talk about Toodles in the lab, this is where there are things with, as much as I love the show, they see moments that just frustrate me. You have this super secret lab, which has these absolutely dangerous creatures in it. And you have no other forms of security down there. There's not somebody at the door at all times. I'm sorry. As it almost feels much like with the crew of the ship earlier, it almost feels like intentional by decisions by the company. Let's see what happens when worst case scenario happens. It's like they're tempting fate, and I and then when you add in what's going on with Toodles there, yeah, he's a kid, but the minute that door breaks, he knows how dangerous these creatures are. Why is he even going into that room? And again, that's the child aspect of it, but there's a common sense thing that seems to get thrown out with the show, and I think that's a big part of one of the points of the show is no common sense. Nobody has common sense on this show at this point. And the only thing that has common sense at this show is residing in the sheep next door, because this thing is outthinking all of them. I mean, he set Kirsch up for that because it wanted to see what was going to happen. And let's not forget in episode 5, the Xenomorph was actually afraid of this thing. It was not wanting any part of it. There is no doubt that our good friend, the eyeball squid, is the most, as far as dangerous thing on the island. I mean, I say that about Wendy, but as far as the aliens go, without a doubt, at this point, because the only thing I still question is we still have no idea about that flower that's hanging in the ceiling over there. That thing, there's been nothing
suspicious.
with that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's something really bad has got to be happening with that. If they don't pay that off, Noah, I'm going to be a little upset with you. But it's the thing that pays off with all of these different aspects, though, is the intensity of it and how well acted they are. Both Yutani and Kid Cavalier are phenomenal in that arbitration scene. The back and forth they have, and when Yutani goes bitch mode on somebody soon, it's going to be really ugly. But it's all these pieces that are coming together, and it's one big puzzle with all these chess pieces moving, and it's so intriguing. That's through this whole sequence, because you're sitting here in the back of your mind going, God, just some common sense, but you're just so intrigued because it's like, how far crazy is this going to go? We find out the reason why this episode is called The Fly during this, because we see the alien fly. We see what it does to Toodles by throwing up on it, very much like reminiscent of the movie The Fly with its acid. My question is this: does Toodles have a backup somewhere? Are they backing up these kids? I mean, they have a huge investment in it. You would think maybe when they're charging or repairing, are they doing a backup of this data? Because they obviously can manipulate the data. Look what they did to Nibs. So the question is, even if their bodies are dead, is there a backup of them that still exists that can be reloaded into?
There has to be,
body?
Kyle. There has to be. Why wouldn't they do that? They do. I don't think they spare any expense.
Because Kid Cavalier doesn't use common sense. That's why.
No common sense.
That's a question to ask. But that's a question to ask. And I think as the ramifications of what happened in this episode start playing out in these final episodes, there's going to be a lot of big revelations that we aren't fully aware of yet that are going to come, and I think it's going to knock our socks off.
Until they actually decide to actually fully explain what that process actually is with the hybrids, you know what I'm saying?
There's got to be one of the biggest explanations is why is it only kids? Why? Because we have obviously seen Kid Cavalier use that promise to get people to do things for him that were adults. We can do this. If you do this, I'll do this for you when they can't. So why does it work with kids and why doesn't it work with adults? And are we sure it's really working with these kids? Because their sanity is becoming more and more in question.
It probably has something to do with the basic fact that, like, the prepubescent kids, where their brain levels are at and everything like that, and all that. That's at that point, the prepubescent age is probably, the only age where it's permissible to do this process. You know what I'm saying? Something about, aging, the puberty process or whatever, whatever that does, obviously affects it.
The only other thing I want to throw out, and I know we'll get into it because we got a little bit more episode to talk about, but whatever the hell is going on with Kirsch at this point might be one of the most intriguing things, at least for me, Is he going the way of the malfunctioning, like as some of the earlier synths did, as they talk about in Aliens, or does Kirsch have a little human hate going on right now? And I'm kind of curious of what's going on with there and what they're doing with that character, because he sees what happens to Toodles and he goes, "Oh, all's good." Affirmative, everything is good. No, it's not. So what's going on there?
Excellent. Thank you, Kyle. Great job, sir. All right. Going over to you, Mr. Austin. Your thoughts, sir.
Sure thing. I'm not going to reiterate a lot of the points from the arbitration scene that Jordan and Kyle have already gone over. The one part of the scene that I do want to touch on that hasn't been touched on yet is just like how well they play off just like how gross it is with these two trillionaires talking to each other and playing with the lives of all of those that were injured and killed in the crash, and those affected afterwards, and they are just pawns to these people. They made it very clear money is not an issue here. Money's not what they're worried about. Yutani wants her toys back, and Cavalier does not want to give them back. And it doesn't matter how many people are hurt, how many people are killed, how much money is involved in the process. It is two children playing or not playing well together. And they did a really good job of just depicting the grossness of that in that scene.
Cavalier wanted to embarrass Yutani.
Oh, absolutely. And I think he thought he did a good job. I don't know if necessarily he did, but as Jordan said, I mean, he pulled out some really impressive intergalactic law there. So, I mean, he held his own, he held his own. It'll be curious to, there was that mic drop moment where, he was walking out. He was like, yeah, you can have him back in 6 weeks. No problem. All right. I get my $50 billion. You get your aliens back after the quarantine period. Game over. End of conversation, And so, I mean, that was kind of badass on Cavalier's part, I'll say. I like him as a character a lot. I think he's not like on a personal level. I think he's an awful person, but I think he's fascinating to watch on screen. The nib, I want to touch on the nibs stuff. Kyle, I got to say, I did not consider the fact that maybe Wendy was just there on her own accords, because if Wendy has proven anything, it's that nobody controls Wendy. So I did not think of that. At first, I assumed that, like Jordan said, she goes through this entire memory wipe and then gets put right back into a situation where that basically all gets undone, and it assumingly is going to get worse because now she's dealing with the trauma of knowing that they can just go into her mind and pluck out what they want to without her having any say in the matter. I had not considered the fact that maybe they were trying to put precautions in place to not have that happen, but they just cannot stop Wendy. Nobody has done it so far, and I don't think she really has any limitations on her at the moment because she's very useful to Boy Cavalier. So I think people are almost afraid to touch Wendy. And so I like I said, just hadn't thought about that. That's a really interesting perspective on that scene. Kind of reframes that entire scene for me, actually, considering that could be an option there. What I want to focus on here is the scene with Toodles or Isaac in the lab. A little peek behind the screen, or peek behind the curtain here for Jordan and I. When we do our show, we have a segment called the Bat Signal Spotlight, and we shine a light on the scene that shined the brightest to us in the episode. And this is that scene for me. When I was organizing my show notes, preparing for this live stream, I thought of it through that lens. And this scene stood out to me the most in this episode. I will say, Kyle, lack of security protocol set aside, this scene really stood out. I thought that it was interesting that Isaac had one job. He had one job. Kirsch made that very clear. Follow protocol, feed the specimen, don't fuck up.
There's a reason it's called the scientific method.
It's not a suggestion.
What does he do? He fucks up. So I also think it is interesting, a through line of this story is the Peter Pan background of it all. And a theme in Peter Pan is, the dark nature of it is that when the Lost Boys start to age, Peter Pan gets rid of them. I kind of saw some symbolism in this moment where Isaac is on his own accords trying to assume a role of more responsibility than any of the other Lost Boys have, thus aging up a little bit, becoming one of the older Lost Boys in a sense, and then is subsequently killed. I just thought that maybe that was an inference of the symbolism between Peter Pan and this show. But the scene itself of Isaac dying was just hilarious. I mean, you get why would you go in that container? Why would you do it? He knows it's not a good idea. And also, when you go in there, why would you not be staring up at the nest the entire time? He looks down long enough for the fly to get out of there. It just come on. I was verbally angry at my screen because I really like Isaac. And then I would be remiss if I did not mention the octopus in this scene, just because that is one evil little creature. And man, is it intimidating. And just as you mentioned, Kyle and Jordan, he just sits back and watches around with just this scowl on his face. Just
He's assessing,
plotting.
which makes him terrifying.
Terrifying. I've never been so scared of a sheep in my life. And to be honest, I don't know if I ever will be. It's going to be hard to beat the intimidation factor of this sheep. But when he figures out, he's like, okay, all I got to do is bump my head, knock Isaac over. My question is, why is the octopus is a she. Why is she doing this? What is the end game here? How has she figured out that maybe killing Isaac, or at least momentarily, disabling him, how is that going to further lead to her escape, which is ultimately
Learn your enemy.
her end goal?
Learn your enemy.
Yes, that's a very good point. And then within this scene also, we get the Adam death. And I'm sorry, am I going too far ahead there? Was that part of this sequence? I don't remember.
Which part?
I think
I think that's like the very end of the episode.
Or
That's
the
the very
Arthur.
end.
Okay, I'm skipping ahead. I won't talk about that for the time being. But yeah, it's the aliens are all starting to, in a way, work together for a common goal. And I just think, as Jordan said, the octopus is a character in this show, and she's the maestro. She is sitting back. She's figuring out who needs to do what, who needs to be removed from the playing board. And I, for one, am extremely excited to figure out what her ultimate plan is, because I think it's going to be brutal. I think it's going to be gross. And I can't say that I'm not cheering for her. I want her to win. Which
I think
is
she's the
messed
most
up.
popular alien that's come out of it. And you mentioned that as a great point. One of the other things I noticed too, I loved how they kept cutting back to the xenomorph, like just watching and checking out.
It has a name. It has a name. It's called T. Oculus.
I don't agree with that. It's the octopus to me.
I found it so fascinating that they were cutting back to the xenomorph.
Just watching
all of that.
Just to be clear, that xenomorph, is that the xenomorph that was the result of the fucking the fish?
That was the lung transplant
thing that swung into the lung. That's where that xeno came from.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So
that's
I kind of wonder when we mentioned that, because it was her brother's DNA that xenomorph took on living in that lung.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that has any impact on the xenomorph and the relationship with Wendy.
I do think they're trying to poke at that a little bit, because there's obviously precedent for that in the Alien franchise.
Yeah.
And so I do think they're trying to kind of tug on that string a little bit and tie that into the pre-existing lore. So I definitely agree with you there. I think they're trying to do that to some extent. That's what I got. That's what I got on that sequence.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, sir. All right. Going over to you, Sir Andreas. Your thoughts, sir?
Yes. No, I really love this section. This is where, like, this was my favorite moment of this episode. Mostly because I was like, please, Meryl, kill Kellier, please. I don't care. You're the Captain Hook of this story. That was the day we were doing this paper end thing, and I just because I saw this in one commenter comment from a YouTube video, and he brought up how Meryl was Captain Hook, and I was like, hell yeah! Like he has one arm that's literally like a like a
He
head
smokes
knife.
He's gonna
cigars
use
all
it
the
like a
time.
hook at some point.
Yeah, exact. Oh my god, that would be funny if it did. I was like, hell yeah, you're my favorite show of all time, 2025, folks. Oh my god, it's just the meeting, the business meeting is so good, well directed. You saw how the kid was so arrogant and just showing off his intelligence towards Yotani without knowing that she has her own like plans to like attack this kid's facility. It's like
She know they all know that, bro. Come on.
no, I don't think the kid knows. Well, here's the thing.
Yes, he does. They flat out said that he doubled his security in the last 24 hours. They know they're gonna come get the creatures.
No, yeah, yes, but the thing is now that because Kirsch is like enabling like these events to happen, like he allowed, not to jump forward, but like the fact that he just allowed slightly to take Arthur's body is like a very indication that he's not like part of the kid's business, so it doesn't matter about the fucking security, dude. Like all these like sci-fi movies like always brought up high security, and 9 out of 10 is the high security goes down hell. Like look at Jurassic Park, that security system went down quickly because of a Newman from Seinfeld that literally caused the whole operation to fall down. Like I don't think the high security is gonna save them from like Tawny, and the fact that that there's an inside person is allowing this is like not something that the kid is expecting, because he thinks that Kirsch is his side, but he doesn't know that Kirsch is like doing the typical like simp thing for like pretty much like Ash from 1979 of like either or not he's like because in episode 1 or episode 2 he was talking to Wendy about how we're aminos and we get killed and like stuff like his analogy of us as nature, right? And and so far this I like about the show is they're doing how like everything is like the force of nature, like nothing is really controlled by us, everything just happens that happens. I mean, yes, the kid was it Isaac, yes, he was very stupid to like go alone, but at the same time, it was out of his control that these aliens are smart and that they were gonna outsmart him and be killed. Like that wasn't his like he didn't know that. Like he is a strong synth, but unfortunately the smart outsmart the bronze and stuff like that. But anyway, the meeting, I felt so bad on Tani, like just getting like so like so pissed off that this kid just telling her that, oh, technically it's your fault, and like, and of course he mocks the depth of the crew that sent these creatures back from the 65-year mission. That part made me really like, okay, I really want Mara to kill him because, I mean, Mara was doing his job, yeah, he killed, he let the captain die, but like, freaking, this kid literally killed whole people in that ship just to get the creatures in his land, and I'm just like, yeah. And oh my god, that scene with Kirsch talking to Meryl in the elevator was really cool. Like that was already kind of an indication that okay, Kirsch is not part of, like he doesn't want to be part of Kid's like overall plan here, or like his business. He's like acknowledging Meryl that like I will help you, to get this, this operation like be successful. I mean, like he already knows that he's talking to Slightly. We already know that from episode 4. He cracked the telepathic communications that Mero was doing with Slightly, and he knows what's going on. He wants to have the xenomorph that he wants Slightly to affect the human, and so bring a new fresh one to him and Yutani. Like, he knows all that. So, and the fact that he's is talking to him and being very like core about what he's trying to say to Mero. So I really like that scene, and I mean, Kirshen and Mero are the best characters in the show. They're my favorite characters. I mean, especially Mero, who is like the MVP of the show. So I was very happy to see him again, and seeing now that Tony's like just your mission you were telling me last week's episode towards the end, like, you got everything, just do it, and so that was really great. Wendy, it's not convenient that the Seymour is from the brother, because I think there is this like symbiotic connection they have, and it's just something we saw in it's funny that Jeff brought up the fourth movie, Resurrection. It's different from here because with Wendy, it's more like communication, because she is able to adapt their sounds, and she's able to like talk to this creature. Where in Alien Restoration, the fourth movie, because Ripley, well, first off, Ripley in that is a clone, but like also she has half DNA as a xenomorph. So she was pretty much part of the colony of the xenomorphs, like especially. Well, and a little bit of Alien 3 as well, because she was affected with the alien queen in her body. And that xenomorph, that famous iconic shot of the xenomorph going towards her, like, at the face, but stopping from Alien 3 is really iconic. But it indicates that, he couldn't really kill her because of, the alien queen in her body, if you've seen Alien 3. So, very different way to, like, have a human be interconnected with the xenomorph here, But it's something that is nothing new, as Austin said before. This is something we had done before in the Alien franchise. I mean, even in video games, they have like these humans that also have superpowers, and they are able to like enhance abilities to kind of like control these aliens, whatever. One of the video games I saw that did that, but yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. I mean, poor Isaac. I don't know why he wanted to, do all that for him, like, do all that, like, feeding the aliens alone. Like, next time he should have brought Curly and, like, be protected. That could have been, because that moment I was like, okay, this was very horror trope. I get that, as Austin you brought before, like, he was becoming the lost boy, like, being the older kid. It was kind of stupid, and, like, he was reaching too far as a kid to like handle these big responsibilities, So that's I think was a really sad fortune of the kid, because I did like Isaac as a character. And that octopus eye, like, oh my god, he is my favorite alien. I hope he does grab into another body human, because we do need another battle between him and the Seymour, which is great. For episode 5 last week, I was like, damn. This guy, like, he wasn't even afraid from the cinema. He was like,
You're not going to see that again during this season, brother. I'm sorry, but that was a one-off.
Yeah, you are so down to, like, you think it's going to be one thing. No way. Especially that, like...
There are rumors they're already working on season 2.
Yeah, that's true. We're going to get season 2. And we're going to get another one for this season, next season, maybe. But, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're very lucky that there's a second season. But anyway... and I just wrapping up. I like the new design of the xenomorph here that came from Herman's how do you say it, like his organ, because it looks very green, which is kind of cool. Because usually with these xenomorphs, they're like full on black and like very like sloppy as usual. In previous iterations, I like that this new design of this xenomorph, if you pay attention, like with the design you saw in the container, it looks very green than some of the other versions we've seen. Like, I mean, the xenomorph from the first 2 episodes, like, was traditional, like, xenomorph, like black. And I'm very curious, because like with this xenomorph, it was was part of an organ, but it wasn't in a full-on body. So it looks so different because it looks very skinny than some of the other sleeve watch. But that was something I noticed with the sign of this new CE mark we have here that was coming from Hermit's body organ that had to be replaced. But yeah, overall, this was my favorite section of the episode. Very excited to talk about the final part of this episode as well. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you, sir. Great job. All right, Jeff, take us out with this portion of the episode. I'll give you a reminder of where this is. This is includes the negotiation between Yutani and Cavallari, Poodle's mishap in the lab, and basically Wendy's and Nib's little conversation and her conversation with Dane.
Thank you, Cyber. Your audio is is fading a little bit, just so you know, brother. But thank you, sir. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that that the Kish Murrow scene was not like really super profound overall, or as far as the episode goes. But just as a scene, it was a great scene just because it was such a great two great characters to put together, together in that one scene like that. I really feel like Timothy Oliphant is great with anybody you put him with on a show. You know what I mean? Like he was so good in Deadwood. He was Deadwood. If anybody was like a main character on Deadwood, you know what I'm saying? Like he was that guy. You know what I'm saying? And Deadwood is depending on what list you look at or whatever, or who you talk to, is like literally probably one of the top 10 best TV shows ever made. You know what I'm saying? He's been on some good fucking shows, Timothy Oliphant. I didn't watch his other show, Justified or whatever. I never got into it, but I heard it was pretty good. And the actor that plays Murrow is great too. He's been exceptional. So all series, so just having them together is just great. Seeing them match up physically would be really interesting. That would be a great matchup. I don't see it happening. Personally, I don't think it'll go that way. You know what I mean? I don't think there'll be a situation where it'll be necessary for them to go hands-on with each other. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot more of the action and the battle stuff in the last couple episodes to be more like with guns. You know what I'm saying? Like weapons and stuff like that more, leaning in that direction. You know what I mean? So at that point, I don't know if we're really going to get that, what we really want to get, which would be, mano, Moreau with his knife fucking arm, you know what I'm saying? Taking on, Kirsch, you know what I'm saying? Because I've got a feeling that Kirsch could whoop ass. You know what I'm saying? Like if you unleashed him on somebody, you know what I mean? One-on-one physically or whatever, he would like break somebody like a human being. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he's got that synth strength.
Yeah. So he would like snap somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like he would just break somebody. You know what I mean? I imagine if he wanted to, he's dangerous. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing about it that makes him that scene so great. The tension so great between him and Moreau is that Moreau is a murderous motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? He's already proven that. He don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? He would kill babies and shit for fucking Yutani. You know what I mean? If they told him to. You know what I'm saying? He don't give a fuck. He sold his soul to Yutani a long time ago. Yeah, he'll do whatever. You know what I'm saying? To get them fucking creatures back, bro, he'll do whatever. Kill whoever. So, like, he's dangerous, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's dangerous. I wouldn't want to fuck with Moreau. You know what I mean? When he intimidated Slyly or whatever with his fucking, like, sword arm in that one scene on the ship, dude, that shit was intimidating, bro. You know what I'm saying? Little hybrid dude was fucking scared. He was like, oh, fuck. So, Kirsch is fucking dangerous, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is dangerous. He gives off a vibe, like, you know what I'm saying, at times where you're kind of like, oh, fuck. I mean, when he put Moreau in his place on the ship about, like, what was going on with the ship, he was like, actually, this is our ship, or whatever, Like, You know what I'm saying? And this and that or whatever. Bro, like, back down. You know what I'm saying? He was like, all right, I'm out. You know? So, what does that tell you? But love that they threw them together like that. And I don't know what to make of fucking Catherine or Megan or whatever the fuck her name is. The goddamn hybrid fucking bitch's fucking name. Wendy. I always struggle with her name for some reason. I have no idea why. She's the daughter of that actor that was in Friday Night Lights.
Sydney Chandler's her name. She's the daughter of Kyle Chandler, who we will be singing Lanterns.
Lanterns, baby. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Woo! Lanterns. Between two Batcaves, and need to come back for Lanterns. You too, Kyle. Because you know the Bleeding Edge will be on that shit. We'll be on that ass with Lanterns. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. I can't wait. Lanterns almost makes my dick hard. So almost, you know, not quite, but
Almost.
you know, like half staff. You know what I'm saying? I get from Lanterns already. You know, so, you know, Peacemaker will give you a full on fucking like full erection on some of the Peacemaker episodes, bro. You know what I'm saying? Got some pornography type shit going on over there. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, I don't know, you know, like the hybrids are all fucking going crazy and shit. You know, Wendy's fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying? She don't even know what name she wants to be anymore. You know what I mean? Now she wants to revert back to some other name or whatever, you know, like she's fucking like, she's malfunctioning, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? What's her name that fucking had the fucking eyeball creature on her face and fought her and shit or whatever, thought she was pregnant and got mind wiped, right? She's fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying? You know, it was extremely awkward that they just tossed her right in there without her memories with the other fucking hybrids. That was really dumb. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. That bald-headed character, that dude, still don't get at this point, to this day, exactly what his official title is, right? Like what his role is really in the whole upper hierarchy or whatever of like Kid Cavalier's organization. I still to this day I don't feel like they've made it clear to me in the audience yet exactly what his role is, right? But whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? He's obviously like, you know, like has a lot of like, you know, sway, you know what I'm saying? And like a lot of, you know, like authority, you know, and all that shit, you know? So like he's a pretty fucking dangerous guy, you know, he's a pretty intimidating fucking guy. You know? But you know, I wish they would kind of make it a little bit clearer, kind of, you know, exactly what the fuck his function really is at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Is he just like Kid Cavalier's like babysitter? Is that his role? Like, you know, I don't know. I still have not figured that out yet. That hybrid bitch is fucked up now. She's crazy. She lost her memories. She's crazy. Thought she was pregnant. You know what I'm saying? Which if she had been pregnant from the fucking eyeball monster, that would have been really fucking awesome and really cool. You know what I'm saying? How that would have played out if she'd been pregnant from that would have been dope. You know? Some people actually thought that happened. There were people in the comment sections online and shit whatnot saying that. You know, so whatever. But she's crazy. You know, Sanjay Gupta, fucking the Indian, you know, whatever his name is, hybrid. Sorry, I'm so bad with the names, guys. But the guy that, you know, talks to Murrow through the, you know, the device, he's all crazy and shit and fucked up because his family's getting held ransom or whatever, you know, held, you know, by a gunpoint or whatever, you know, or he thinks they are or some shit. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Right? So like he's got, you know, Murrow talking in his head, which has got to really fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. He's not human anymore. But just imagine if somebody was just talking into your fucking head like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would fuck with me, bro. You know what I'm saying? I would be fucked up by that. You know? So, like, he's not even human. He's a fucking, like, a synth. He's like a hybrid. I can't even imagine how fucking intimidating and fucked up that must be for him. To have to hear that voice, like, talking to him and shit. Holy fuck, man. But my point is, all these hybrids are all fucking going crazy, basically, all of them. You know? By the end of this season, they're all going to be nuts. You know, essentially, right? And now one of them died. right? If they can die, it died. There you go. He's dead. You know, he got his face. What happened? Did that guy's face get melted off? Is that what happened to him?
Yes.
Seems that way, yeah.
Yeah. Because remember, those skins are not like instructable, so the fly thing was able
and when the sheep with the eyeball monster in the fucking socket butted his head or whatever went against the wall, what did that do?
It just startled him.
Yeah,
and
made him lock the door.
Knocked him into the room, yeah, because he was kind of I guess the door shut.
That's what locked him in the room?
Yeah. He knocked him into the room, and I guess he lost his hold on the door, and it closed behind him.
Oh, so no way. So the eyeball monster flexed his IQ again. Hardcore, huh? No shit.
Yep.
I think he's the only one out of the creatures that's actually like a team player, to be honest with you. I know that's been discussed already. I kind of feel like he's really the only one that's like actually looking around, like has the IQ and the wherewithal and the vision, obviously, because we see it, right? To where he sees what's going on, you know what I mean? And like will do stuff, you know, that comes off almost as if he's assisting or like, you know, participating or something like that, you know, or aware of the other creatures. I think they're all really just out for themselves at the end of the day when it boils down to it. But he's the only creature, I believe, out of what they have that's at all aware really of the other ones to that degree. You know what I'm saying? You know, the Xeno doesn't like honestly, wouldn't even pay attention to some of those creatures. I think if it came across them, you know what I'm saying, wouldn't even mess with them. You know, wouldn't have any reason to. I really want to know what that plant thing does. You know, honestly, I'm dying to find out what that thing does at this point. It's getting kind of ridiculous. They have not shown us it kill someone or something by now. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they all kill people. They all so far. Why wouldn't that creature kill people too? You know?
I think we'll get that. I feel pretty good about that.
They all kill, obviously. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, that one must kill too. We just don't know how yet. You know what I mean? You know, I'm assuming it has an ability in some way. It does. You know, yeah. I mean, I guess. Do I have anything else to say? Let me look at my notes. No, I just wanted to know where that Xeno came from and mention that the Kisha Morosi was really fucking super dope, baby, super awesome. And you know, I really dig the acting by those two characters are being very well serviced in Alien Earth season 1 so far. And Kyle, sir, I never even really kind of had any doubts or like had questioned if there'd be an Alien Earth season 2 so far at any point, sir. I mean, once I just started watching this show from day 1 of episode 1, it was kind of like, you know, it was more of a question of like, how many seasons will they eventually make of this show, sir? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, not will it be a season 2? You know what I mean? If a TV show is even half as popular as Alien Earth these days, it gets another season, you know? And Alien Earth is super popular right now, you know, like in the, you know, on the social media space, and on YouTube and shit and everything that's being said about it is totally positive, you know, everything I see. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. You know, besides that, I mean, I could be like Andre's the pop culture guy and try to drag my contribution out as much as possible and like search my fucking memory banks and shit and see if I can find some final, you know, tidbit, you know, or whatever to fucking throw out there just to have this one last fucking thing to add to my time, make it longer.
Okay,
take more time.
You're 60-minute now.
No, but I won't do that. I'll just go over to you, Cyber. Woo!
Thank you, 60-minute Andreas Man 2000. All right, so great job, sir. Great job. Very well done. All right, excellent job, everyone. Lots to say on that, and that's great. All right, so let's get to the end of this episode and talk about that, since a lot of us have already kind of mentioned a little bit of it, so which is fine. It happens. But basically, where we left off is Morrow seeks help to expose a human to an alien egg, but Joe declines due to reassignment. Before leaving, Arthur disables Wendy's tracker and gives Joe a boat code to help them escape. Later, Slightly betrays Arthur, locking him with a face hugger that impregnates him, while Kirsch watches silently. slightly hides the body as chaos brews in the lab. Oh, so yeah, I mean, Morrow being in Slightly's ear through that whole section there. Briefly, we see him, and you can see him. He's like distressed. He's like, having a conversation, and that the other lost boy comes up, and he's like agitated, and you can tell, and he says, I'll hang out with you later, stuff like that. Yeah, that all happened at in between this sequence. We have that great scene with Arthur and Joe, where he basically is saying what he can show him, but really he's typing it on the computer saying, "Here, get her out of here. It's dangerous," and all this kind of stuff. Here's a boat code, stuff like that, which I thought was pretty cool. And I think I really enjoyed Arthur, so I was really upset that he got face hugged by a face hugger. I really liked him. I thought he was a great character. I thought he was like genuinely nice. Like he really did care about these kids. And so his ultimate demise, I was like really pissed by. And I was like, oh, that's too bad. But then, of course, we have the, him going into the lab because he can't track what's his Toodles. And he finds his body in there with it all scarred from acid from those fly things. And he's trying to get it out of there. And all of a sudden, Slightly disappears. And he's trying to get it out. And then all of a sudden, he notices he's locked in and he can't get out after the other doors keep opening. The facehugger door opens. And, he said, "Hey, let me out, Toodles," and or Slightly. And he's like, he kind of like, "They have my family hostage." And I'm like, oh, God. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden when it attacks him, I was just like, oh, I'm like, God damn, facehugger got him. I'm like, fuck. But you can see in the scene too, you see the xenomorph and he's kind of hanging out, checking out the scene, and he's looking through the glass kind of like, oh, what should I do here? Kind of, you can see he's thinking. You see it's thinking. And I think that's really interesting and fun. And then, of course, that where it shows all of a sudden Kirsch is watching the feed and seeing what happened, and he's not saying anything to Calibari, and you're just like, oh, God. Kirsch, are you going Ash on us? You got to be an Ash character? Which, by the way, I love that they brought Ash back for Alien Romulus. That was freaking awesome. I thought the CGI work did a really good job of making it look like it was really him. It was kind of like when they did the one Empire character that was played by the late great Peter Cushing for
Tarkin, I think.
Yeah, Grant Tarkin. Yeah, Grant Tarkin and Rogue One, and they did such a great job. I thought that was so awesome. So, but yeah, I mean, then of course, we have, Slightly hiding the body in that air vent before the other creatures can, start creating havoc. And that's how the episode ends. So what are your guys' thoughts on that final portion of this episode? What did you like about it? What did you enjoy and all that good around? And we'll start with you first, Jeff.
Oh, I get to go first? Wow. I didn't expect that, Cyber. I usually have a pretty good gauge as far as like where you're going to pick, like, where you're going to slot me, what I'm saying, from round to round. But I actually did not anticipate you going right to me that way. But that's okay. I'll start. I don't mind. I mean, again, like I mentioned in the studio area before the episode, this episode was just not as exciting, at the end of the day, like, or not as super entertaining, maybe, as a lot of the other episodes of Alien Earth have been for me. You know what I mean? It was a little bit, an establishment episode, like Kyle was mentioned back then about it, I don't know. I felt like the ending of the episode was actually kind of a little deflating a little bit, it kind of fell off a little bit. It really wasn't, all that exciting, but this is what ended up happening, I mean, realistically, I mean, the creatures aren't out, right? They did none of them actually escaped, did they?
They're loose within the lab. The flies are, at any rate.
But they're in the lab, contained though.
As of right now.
There you
That's
go.
going to be
How
changing.
contained though if Slightly is just able to take off the vent grate? I mean, he's probably got some super.
That's
strength,
right,
but
and we have
didn't
we
look
have-
like it was too much of a struggle for him.
That's right, because we've got some rogue agents too. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't know what's going on with Kirsch either. You know what I'm saying? As far as elements that could influence that whole situation, like at any given time. So like, the situation is obviously very precarious, at this island. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, as far as the events that have just occurred in this episode overall, and at the end in the lab, I mean, honestly, for somebody that's a fucking zillionaire or whatever, like Kid Cavalier, for him to have such poor, like shitty security, you know what I mean? Ability, the way he's handling these creatures is so low budget. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? You know what I'm saying? It just, some of it doesn't even make any sense. So I just don't get it, but I guess at the end of the day, overall, the fly creature is the first one of the creatures that's, besides the eyeball creature, that's tried to attack one of the hybrids. The Xeno didn't go for the hybrid, right? Am I correct, everybody? When the Xeno had a chance, it passed up on the hybrid, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just vibing with Wendy, and then next thing we saw, it was in the cage.
Yeah. And even when like the ship crashed and shit like that or whatever, the Xeno bumped into like hybrids at first. Did it not? It didn't try to attack or anything, did it?
No, it seems to be the established. It seems to respond more to a biologic.
Yes.
That being said, though, Wendy did get into that battle with the xenomorph on the ship.
But that was also in protection of Joe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's
a good point.
Like, so she kind of antagonized that scrap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're not hunting the hybrids necessarily.
No, they're not. You know what I mean? I think Kyle's right. They do seem to go for like the live-blooded, like creatures. You know what I mean?
Episode 2 they confirmed that with Meros, because they can tell the difference between a synth and a human. So they can tell which one is organ.
They can smell probably.
Something like that.
Yeah, the aliens have a good sense of smell. You know what I mean? I think they probably smell, because they can't see shit. You know what I'm saying? So they use all their other senses to basically to try to, figure what shit is. You know what I'm saying? Right? If my alien lore is correct, right? They don't have eyes. Am I right, guys? Somebody back me up here. The Xenos don't have eyes.
I'm not the expert.
Yep.
Yeah, they haven't physically. You don't see them, but that doesn't mean they don't have some form of sight.
They use their other senses to navigate and shit like that and distinguish what's what and all that. They don't use eyes. That's why when the eyeball monster jumped on it and tried to like lock onto it, it couldn't lock onto anything.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, actually, no. Actually, there's one. This is weird. It really, because Alien 4, there was an alien xenomorph that had eyes, and I can't remember what was like the reason.
I don't care about about anything that happened in Alien 4. Andres, the pop culture guy.
Well, I'm just saying because I don't want the commentators to just.
I don't even consider Alien 4 to be like canon. All right.
You cannot. Well, first you cannot. I mean, this franchise has a disconnect. Alien 3 or Alien 4, sir. So I cannot really say that. But yeah, anyway.
Whatever.
Whatever. I don't like Alien 4 either. I'm just saying there was an alien that had eyes, and I'm trying to figure like the seal. Did the seal / Predator from Alien versus Predator Requiem have eyes? No, like it was like a full on like.
So the TVMA, right? What does that actually mean at the end of the day? Like, is that an R rating essentially? Does that translate to an R rating?
Yes.
I would say PG-13. High end PG-13, low end R. Yeah, right in that kind of.
Yeah.
So it's beyond PG-13, but it
might not
R.
be like a full on hard R.
But it's not R. Okay. All right. You know, because they have like, you know, they have some gore that goes on, you know, at times in some of the episodes. There's a lot of blood, you know. There's not been very much swearing, but I know on other FX shows they do swear, you know. I think don't they have sex on some other FX shows too? Don't they show sex?
Oh, they definitely have sex on other FX shows.
Yeah.
They're having a lot of sex all across the whole channel.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Fargo had that. Legion had that. Like,
yeah.
So, and they also curse too. It just really depends on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I figure on Fargo that they probably curse a lot. You know. You know, it seems like that would be that kind of show. You know. Again, I pinch myself. I feel bad that I've never watched those shows. You know, especially Legion because I'm a comic book fan. You know, so like, I mean, you know, Legion's a comic book character that I actually really used to like back in the day. But you know, the little bit I saw of Legion, I really liked. It looked really great. I guess my final thoughts on the episode would just basically be just that, you know, I'm really excited, you know, for the next episode, obviously. And I don't know, you know, I can't remember exactly what the final song was on this episode. I forget already, but it was pretty solid. Like most of them have been. I thought it was pretty decent, you know. And you know, for the most part, I think that you know, the last thing I'll say is just that the melting off of the hybrid face scene was pretty decent. I like that. You know, as far as like you know, a finishing, you know, fucking finishing blow kind of like scene, you know, like Mortal Kombat style shit with from that fly creature, right? To have it expel that fucking gas or whatever and turn it to fucking like melt in his face. That was pretty dope. You know what I'm saying? And you know, those hybrids are supposed to be really tough. So I mean, whatever the fuck that shit was that fly sprayed on him must have really fucked him up. You know, like seriously. You know what I'm saying? Because he was out. You know, so yeah, that's pretty much it, Cyber. That's all I got.
All right, excellent. Thank you, sir. Shout out to Alan in the comments. What's up, my brother? Good to see you too, sir. Thanks for being in the comments. And a shout out to all these wonderful people in the comments having some fun here. Very, very fun. All right. So, moving over to Jordan. Your thoughts, sir, on the conclusion of the episode.
I mean, credits close. Music plays, and I wish it was a binge drop because I wanted to start the next episode. I talked about it a little bit at the outset of our episode here. I just thought this episode did such a great job of setting the table for this home stretch. We know that chaos is about to ensue. The lab is going to be breached. Everything going on with Kirsch, I think, is the biggest wild card, and we've talked about it a little bit, but
good point.
His motivations, I think, are the most ambiguous at this point. It almost seems like he's doing whatever he's doing for his own amusement. I don't think he's not motivated necessarily to betray Prodigy on behalf of Yutani. Him and Moro have a very antagonistic relationship. I think that elevator scene, that's probably where I'd put my Batcave spotlight. Just the back and forth between them and the hybrid, or not the hybrid, the cyborg synth rivalry was pretty awesome. My biggest question going into this last batch of episodes is, how is Boy Cavalier going to die? And how is Kirsch going to facilitate that? Because that seems pretty clear to me because you guys are right that something has to happen to establish the status quo for Alien.
I'm sorry, but I don't want him to die. I want him to talk to the fucking eyeball creature and some other animal or something like that, because I think
he's going to talk to the octopus.
He wants to have that ultimate conversation. He said, right?
What conversation looks like?
The ultimate conversation would be the eyeball creature and an actual creature like a human or something that can talk to him.
The ultimate conversation is the eyeball in Kid Cavalier.
Exactly. The octopus is taking over Boy.
Yeah, I mean
I'll plant my flag in the ground.
That would be an ultimate conversation. It would be. You're right.
I'm planting my flag there. Yeah, I mean the Arthur death scene I thought was played really well. Just like solid directing all around. And really enjoyed that, even though I had a feeling that was coming and that was how things were going to close out. I do also want to shout out the scene between Arthur and Hermit. When Hermit comes to see him as Arthur's kind of packing up his belongings after he got fired. I love those kind of scenes where it's like two characters are having one conversation, but it's meaning a different thing to them because they know that they're being watched, and they're playing that pretty intelligently. And Arthur's, he's typing messages out on the computer while they're having a conversation on the side. But again, things are not going to end well for Hermit. He's going to try to make a run for it. And I think it's been established throughout Alien lore and throughout the show that altruism is not going to pay off too well. The naivety of a character like Hermit is not going to work out well for him either. So nice gruesome death scene for Arthur. I enjoyed getting to see the face hugger just kind of aura farm throughout the lab before it attached to Arthur. Just the good horror stuff all around. Yeah, I'm ready for next Tuesday.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Going over to you, Mr. Kyle.
So I agree. Arthur's fate was sealed, and if you weren't sure, as soon as the hybrid walked into the room, you knew. So I think that was pretty broadcast. The curse thing is what I'm the most intrigued by. This is whatever is going on with him. If he is malfunctioning, if he is just at this point, it's like, I'm the superior being. I'm going to mess with everybody and see what the consequences are. But really, what this is all about is setting up what's going to happen in the final 2 episodes of the season, because it's going to be crazy. I have sneaking suspicions that there are some people who think this is a 1-season show, and I just don't see how it's going to be. The ratings have been too high. I know with Noah Hawley that he tends to only like to do 1 season, but I think he's got a deeper plan here for this show, and I know the show's a labor of love for him.
Who told you that they think this is going to be a 1-season show?
There's a lot of people who've been speculating that just because of the timeline factor more than anything, as far as where this takes place before Alien. But they've got so many things set up that are so intriguing. It's funny. I'll just say it now. A couple of my traditions. I think the eyeball does end up in Cavalier. I think that's a very distinct possibility. I think Joe could end up in a synth body. Ooh. I think Wendy might. I think Joe might get injured because I think we're gonna have. I would not be surprised to see a little xenomorph on xenomorph action before this next 2 episodes is done with the xenomorph.
Like you think they're gonna fuck?
Oh, only in your imagination, Jeff. But no, you have the xenomorph that's going to come out of Arthur, and I think it's going to end up maybe attacking Wendy or something like that. And Wendy's personal xenomorph will come to defend her, because there is something going on there. There is more going on there. There's a DNA connection or something going on there. So we could have a xenomorph on xenomorph fight, which is something we've never seen either. And that, I think, could be very intriguing as well. I think we're in for a lot of surprises in these next 2 episodes, and I got to give major credit to Noah Hawley for having episode 5 be what it was. Go into this episode knowing you're slowing the pace down just a little bit because you're setting up the board, but doing it in such a way that has me so intrigued as to what's going to happen. I'm like you guys. I could have binge watched right now into it, but I'm almost, in ways, I'm kind of glad I am, because it's nice to have a show that is the weekly water cooler show to talk to people and have that little bit of anticipation. But yeah, I want more, and I want it now.
Thank you, Kyle. Great job, sir. All right, going over to you, Mr. Pop Culture Guy. Your thoughts, sir, on the conclusion of the episode?
The conclusion of this episode was awesome. I thought that it made me very excited, and just like Kyle said, I want to get to the next episode. I'm very curious what's going on, because right now I think we're seeing the seeds of like the Prodigy facility to kind of slowly fall apart. Like now that we got the flies out, we got slightly taking down Arthur's body. That's now being infected with the facehugger. So I think now the chips are going down very slowly, as we see. We got 2 more episodes, so that's gonna be very intense 2 weeks right now to see like how is this gonna be ended, right? By the way, for slightly, I mean, yeah, Arthur was pretty. I did like Arthur. He was a good character, and I thought his demise was really sad. But I mean, Slightly is really a very tragic character. I really feel bad for him. Like he's being forced into this, bimero to like, affect one of these humans with the face hugger. I mean, his family's being threatened. Like we have to talk about that. He's a kid, and he's being forced to do these adult things. It's really sad, and and I mean, I don't think we got to the scene, or we didn't talk about the scene where he was trying to trick Joe to like go with him and like try to get him infected with the facehugger, which fell because the other soldier from his unit came in and said like we need you. That scene was very intense. I thought like this scene slightly trying to like trick Joe and get him infected was like really nerving. But like I do sympathize with him because of what's going on with the situation he's in. And he was very lucky that Arthur was down there and took the opportunity, and I don't blame him. And very curious what Marrow's going to do to this kid. I mean, is he going to let him live or what? Like that's another thing. It's like does he have a problem with these kids in the synth bodies? And that's another thing. With last episode, we find out he had a daughter. Is he going to do something that like? I mean, I don't know what's like. I mean, her body could have been decomposed, but like, I'm curious, like how, like, where is he in between this? Like, is he gonna see this opportunity to maybe resurrect his daughter to put in the synth body, or he's going to kill these kids because he sees this as like an abomination? I'm very curious what he's gonna do with Slightly, after this, but we'll see. I mean, of course, the flies, these creatures, very disgusting. I mean, it did remind me when Jeff Goldblum like bugged the douchey boyfriend in his head. And it was like, oh my god! And then when he did to the feet, if you've seen The Fly '86, I did. I actually saw it recently, like last year. I can tell you guys, it's not a movie where you need to eat before you see the film. That's all I have to say. And I mean, this was not disgusting. I think it's because like the kid was a simp. But yeah, I thought it was another thing we didn't address was Wendy. Like as Austin brought before, growing up. I think this episode you see like Wendy growing up, literally like as a person, and I can see her doing the more mature things. Like it was good that we had that scene with her and the other sim, the redhead, because where she's gonna be more like she's gonna be just a kid and now discovering these like awful things, where Wendy it's going to be more as a grown up, because I mean she's the first synth hybrid, and like she's protecting those the Lost Boys because that's her extended family really. So I'm really curious about that. I mean also she's powerful. We know that she's able to like hack into things. That's another thing we haven't brought up back from the previous episodes. She has control of these technology. I'm curious like is going to use that as well. I am very curious about that. And then, we didn't talk about Jim coming in. Like Jim throughout the episode, he's trying to find a way to get out of the facility and get Wendy out, right? And Jeff brought this up, and the whole security is up the level. But look, there's a way you could do it, and like. He did find a way that made sense. I mean, before Arthur got infected with the face hugger, he turned off what was it the tracking system that the kids have. So he turned off everything for well, really for Wendy. So he's able to like do something to get like he may be able to get out and like they cannot track her, for how long, whatever. So we got that scene. I mean, that's at least one thing Arthur did good. Help out Jim to get his sister out. But yeah, I think overall it was a good finale episode. I appreciate we did a little bit of an aliens kind of tribute here with the face hugger like roaming around in the lab before he that thing affect Arthur's head. So that was really cool. And yeah, that's all I had to say. And just last thing, one of the commentators say about aliens can see, like some shows will say like will do like a point of view, like they don't have eyes. We see like they have like almost like Daredevil, like they have like these like heightened sense where they can tell where they're going. So that's how they usually see. It's just they have a higher sense of just like Daredevil where they can where they're where they're going, and also they smell, as Jeff said before, a lot of heightened senses they have as these creatures. So but yeah, overall I love this episode. No, not my favorite. I mean it was really tough to beat episode 5, but this was a really good one. It moved us along to the next 2 episodes that's gonna be important, And just Kyle, he brought up the renewal. I think they're doing the same thing as Shogun. Like, I don't know if this is intentional, but like I think they want to wait. If this show is going to get a lot of Emmys, they will say that okay, it's going to renew the second season. That's how these shows do now. After they premiere their like full-on season and they get all the acolytes and awards, then the studio /
That's not true, Andres, because TV shows, sci-fi TV shows like this don't always even get a lot of nominations for awards.
I mean, for this show, yes, because of a couple of things. I agree with you're saying, Jeff, but I can see the show being nominated because of, first off, you got big names, plus you got Noah Hawley, who's a big Emmy winner, with Fargo, and then, I know Legion wasn't big, but like, I think this show could be nominated. We'll see. But, they're waiting for, after this season.
They're going to make another season of fucking Alien Earth. It's a guarantee, okay? Like, Shogun was its own situation. They only planned on doing 1 season of Shogun.
Well, but then it got successful. And then...
Yeah, then it became super fucking successful, yes. But yeah. I'm saying, that's not the same situation as Alien Earth.
Yeah, well, and then, just wrapping up. Sorry, guys. Just wrapping up, like, the movies. That's another thing. It's like, I don't know if they want to wait to get another movie out and then, do another season. We'll see. But that's all my thoughts on the finale of this episode 6.
Thank you, sir. Good job. All right. So, to take us out, Mr. Austin, what are your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I'll keep mine short and succinct, just like the ending sequence here. Wrap this up. Just the final sequence there. Arthur's death was, Adam's death was brutal. I thought we got some of the best acting from that actor in that scene, and just like the resourcefulness of Slightly to capitalize on that opportunity was an interesting and really like dark point for his character. I love the way that he gets infected and then just escapes through the ventilation system and then just leaves everything as is. We got flies out and about. Seemingly more is going to come from that, and we're going to get further aliens running rampant in the lab and potentially outside of the lab onto the island. And the way that this episode ended with the octopus just turning, staring into the screen, you start to get the song is Keep Away by Godsmack, and that starts to swell, and the octopus, the sheep, it's looking at us, the audience. It is letting us know to get ready. because as we've already discussed, this episode was a place setting episode. It was table setting for the final 2 episodes, letting us know which questions still need to be answered. And it is a big task. There's a lot of questions that we would hope to get answered in these final 2 episodes. And I do think that Noah Hawley and the team that he's assembled around him is up to the task. I'm really excited, as everybody else on this panel is. I will just end with this one theory that I've had since episode 1. And I think it is coming into fruition now with it slightly leaving the lab. I think the aliens can now get out of the lab. I have a theory that Neverland is going to become Jurassic Park, Xenomorph style. So if that happens, I expect everybody here to give me my kudos if we get xenomorphed up animals running across Neverland.
It's going to be one big mushroom cloud.
Yep.
Oh my god, that is so cool. I think that could happen. Actually, that makes sense.
I think it's more likely than it should be.
Oh, definitely. I like your idea, your theory. That is pitch perfect.
We'll put it on lunchboxes. We'll put it on T-shirts. We'll put it on everything.
There you go. There you go.
Sell it.
Oh my god.
All right. Thank you, Austin. Excellent. Good job, everyone. All right. So that is the conclusion of the episode. I want to thank everybody for doing a great job tonight. Everyone gets 10 billion points all around. But our 2 MVPs, of course, are Jordan and Austin tonight. Oh, yeah. Newcomers. Woo-hoo.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. All right. So I will turn it over to you, Jeff, and you can take us out.
Okay, sir. All right, folks. Those of us that catch us in audio form, you'll not get much out of this really, but from a visual standpoint on a digital level, we're going to go ahead and do all of our plugs for all of our wonderful guests, everybody that was on the panel tonight. And I will start with Kyle first over at the Fandom Podcast Network. And Kyle, sir, you've done your plugs before many a time, so have at it. Go ahead.
Well, over at the Fandom Podcast Network, we got a bit of everything. We are on YouTube. We also have audio versions of all our podcasts and all your major podcast catchers. We've got a plethora of shows from shows covering Star Trek and the Orville to a hair metal show to covering all kinds of, nostalgia things. But one of the things we've got going on right now that we're really proud of is we have been supporting the movie Primitive War. If you've not seen this is a Fathom event movie that it was directed by Luke Spark, and it is a phenomenal film. I really hope it does pick up either in the theaters or I know it's coming out digitally about in the beginning of October. We actually got a chance to interview Luke Spark about this movie, and it was a phenomenal interview. You can find it on our YouTube channel, Fandom Podcast Network. Tricia Helfer is in this movie. Jeremy Piven is in this movie. It's based off of a phenomenal novel. Was done on about an $8 million budget, but you would think like Godzilla -1, it was done on a much bigger budget. Go check these shows out. Support this movie. This guy is an amazing filmmaker. He's already got a couple of really good films out, including Bring Him to Me, which you can find on Hulu. But we have a lot of fun with all kinds of things at the Fandom Podcast Network, where our belief is respect each other and enjoy your fandom.
We never did ratings on the episode, so we have to go back, guys. I'm sorry to disrupt the plugs, but really quick, let me go around the table really quick. I'll start with you, Austin, and then I'll go over to you, Jordan, after that. Give me your 1 through 10 rating for episode 6.
Oh, right off the top of the head, I'm gonna give this one a good old 7.5.
Okay, that's a really good rating, actually, sir, because that's the same rating that I was going to pick myself. Now I might change it. Jordan, go ahead.
I'm going with an 8. I think I might be a little bit higher than both you guys on this one. I left me really excited for what's to come next, and just top to bottom, a lot of fun.
Andres.
I'm with Jordan here, 8 out of 10. Nothing will beat episode 5, but it was still a decent episode. Move us along for the next 2 episodes. That's my thought. 8 out of 10.
All right, Kyle.
I think a very solid episode of Alien Earth, which is going to set up a lot of things that are going to make this episode feel like it's going to get blown out of the water. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 because I think the next 2 episodes are going to be right out there at that 9, 10, 10 things. So yeah.
Okay, I agree 100%. I'm at 7.5 myself for this one, and Cyber.
I'll give it a 7.
Okay, and that's a 7 for Cyber. So there you go. Now we got our ratings in there, guys. Thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. Okay, between two bat caves, whichever one of you guys wants to do your plugs, have at it.
Yeah, absolutely. We are, as you can see on the screen, if you're checking us out visually, Austin and I are between two bat caves with the number 2. You can catch us on Apple, Spotify. I think we're on Amazon Podcasts now, so check us out there. Wherever you get your podcasts, we're available. Socials, we're super active on Instagram. We like to get posts up there, a few times a day, really. We're over on Instagram at Between Two Bat Caves with the number 2. We're on the app formerly known as Twitter at B2 Bat Caves with the number 2. And we are also on Blue Sky at Between Two Bat Caves with the number 2. So, yeah, anybody out there, you want to check us out? Right now we're talking Alien Earth. We're talking about Peacemaker over there. We reviewed all the big blockbuster movies this summer. Still trying to figure out what exactly we're going to be covering this fall, but there are a lot of movies coming out that we're really interested in. We'll be talking about Marvel Zombies probably when that comes out. And we just kind of got this thing started a couple months ago, really. We've been talking about doing this for a little while, so just getting this ball rolling now and excited to see where it goes from here.
Well, we love, we all like to collaborate over here at the Bleeding Edge, all three of us. So, you guys being new and everything, I'm sure you want to go ahead and collaborate as much as you can and have guests on your own shows and all that stuff. So to make sure you just let us know what you do decide that you want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're happy to reciprocate. I know I am, and come over and, do an episode over there at your pod,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Appreciate
we'll
that.
definitely keep all you guys in mind. And again, thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah,
Well,
great to meet you guys. It's been a blast being back on the True Believers podcast.
Most definitely. All right. Let's see. Andre's the pop culture guy.
Well, it was great to see you guys. It was great to see you, Kyle, again. It was awesome to talk to you. Great to meet you guys, Austin and Jordan, the Between Two Caves. I'm going to subscribe in Instagram very soon after this. So I just, in terms of content, I've been doing some Beetlejuice stuff. A couple days ago was Michael Keaton's birthday, so I already did a top 6 Beetlejuice moments, so check that out. Some of his most famous and funny moments as Beetlejuice, which we love. Both films, the first and then the second one that came out last year, which is crazy. And his, Beetlejuice tribute, you can check that out. I did another Wednesday clip there as well. It's the episode from episode 6 where they both switch bodies. Spoils if you haven't seen the Wednesday season 2. Shorts, I have, as I said before, I'm going to do Beetlejuice clips, but also reviews. I already did the 2 Beetlejuice films, but starting from, I think, the 12th, I'm going to do the Downton Abbey films reviews, because we got a new Downton Abbey film, the grand finale. That's going to be the 3rd and final film for the trilogy, and I'm a huge Downton Abbey fan, so I'm going to review the first 2 ones, and then Sunday I'm going to see the film, and I'm going to get a review out of that.
Is there sex in Downtown Abbey, Andre? Do they have sex scenes?
No, it's a very time period family.
Okay.
Film, sir. Hold on. Wait for the live streams. And live stream reviews, I'm gonna. Jeff haven't seen this movie, so I'm gonna want to do this now.
That's right. I've never seen it before.
So we're gonna do Logan this week for the live stream review. So please check us out that. And then it's been a while. We did a top ranking video live stream. I did one for MCU phases with Jeff a couple months ago, so I thought this month will be good because this year's the 25th anniversary for.
You should get the Between Two Bat Caves guys to come over and do that one with us.
Yeah, if you guys are interested.
I'll where to find us.
Yes, in Instagram. I'll message you guys there. so the end of September will be perfect to like just do a ranking of these X-Men Fox movies. And we will include Deadpool Wolverine because that is continuing from Deadpool. So that's going to be our live stream review content over my channel. So thank you everyone. It was great to be here with you guys.
Okay, Cyber, you are last, sir. Go ahead.
All right, folks. So if you enjoyed me as a moderator, if you enjoyed me here on the MCU'S Bleeding Edge, you can check out my recent reviews. As you can see there, my most recent two reviews are Weapons and the Naked Gun Legacy sequel. If you haven't seen either of those, check those reviews out. They're pretty fun. I enjoyed making them for you guys. My most recent shorts, of course, are a couple films I've watched recently. One is Ethan Coen's film Driveway Dolls. The other is a Shudder original film called The Rule of Jenny Penn. Or if you haven't seen either Borderline or Dangerous Animals or The Toxic Avenger, you got those all up there too as well. I'll be having more stuff up for you guys soon, more reviews, more trailer reactions, all that kind of good stuff. Lots of good stuff coming out. Just went and saw the new Conjuring yesterday, so I'll be doing a review on that soon. So keep your eyes out for that. And just keep on trucking, keep on subscribing, keep on watching us, keep liking all of these great people we have here on our channel here in the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. We appreciate you all. And, check out all that great stuff. Check out the Patreon.
All right. Thank you, Cyberneticshark. Thanks for everybody. The comment section tonight. Thanks for everybody that caught us during the live stream. Appreciate everybody who catches us in the audio or digital form when we're not live after the show. And again, thanks to all of our guests on the panel tonight. Everybody that's on the Bleeding Edge team, Cyber, Andres, Cyber, great job moderating tonight. Andres, great job on the panel. Great to have you for the first time, Jordan and Austin. That was awesome. And
yeah, thanks for having us,
Kyle. It's great to welcome you back, sir. Hopefully, we'll see you again soon. Let's try let's try to make sure we don't have such a big stretch between your next appearance, sir.
Yeah, we will make that happen.
All right, most definitely. All right, folks. That's it for us. We're done with Alien Earth Episode 6. That's our recap for the MCU's Bleeding Edge, and for everybody else, we're out. Peace.